Happy Friday, everyone. This is Rayzor. This is the Horror Syndicate live. It's Friday night, and we did not do our Wednesday show. Why always say Tuesday? We did not do our Wednesday show because we wanted to take a week off. But man, I was like a crackhead fiending for a live stream. So Seth and Seth actually did it first, even though I think I'm the one who brought it up in the first place. But compiled a list of all three the big three: Halloween, Friday the 13th, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. All 33 of the movies into one massive list. And Seth and I are, you know, just suckers for a good list. And so is Nate. And I did mine as well. I had to update mine because now we have Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills. Actually, I don't think Halloween Ends, and Halloween Kills were all in my list because I did it for the Horror Syndicate back in 2016 before we got Halloween 2018. So this time we're gonna go through our lists. We'll go like Seth's 33, my 33, 32, all in line. I've got some images up, and we're gonna try to have some fun with this, and we want to know where you see some of these movies on the list because there are a lot, and we're not going to linger. This isn't going to be like a 5 hour episode or anything like that, but there are a lot of movies, obviously, and we're talking almost 50 years of horror between the three. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, it's like 120 years of horror, but from 1978 to 2022, with it's weird because Halloween hit 13 movies before fucking Friday the 13th did, and even though Friday the 13th was shitting movies out like nobody's business in the 1980s, but they really slowed down. I mean, there was only four Friday the 13th ish movies released after 1989 with Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason, and the remake in '09. And arguably, three of those are fucking awful. And then, we haven't seen an Elm Street movie since 2010, and they do have the less movies, but are they the more quality movies? Yes. Yes, they are. So even over Halloween, which has 13 movies now. Anyway, so yeah, so if you have the time, hang out with us, rank your movies. Love to know just your rankings in general of the series. I will give you a spoiler alert. Seth and I do not see eye to eye on almost any of this, and there might be some bloodshed. I don't know, might be some bloodshed. But I will also say this: we do have a deep love for A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and the one that we really just don't see eye to eye on is Jason Lives over the final chapter. So I'm going to ask you right now: Jason Lives or the final chapter? Which one's better? Which one's your favorite? Let us know as I bring Seth in, because I was trying to do this so he can't defend himself. So, Seth, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's
Yep,
up,
there
dude?
it is. And there it is.
Yeah,
So
I think it's great though that our lists are so different from each other. That's
diverse, I guess.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, like, well, and the fun part about this is my list has changed quite dramatically since I did it in 2016. And going into the future, I bet it changes again because, there are certain movies that I may have liked better back then and over now, and of course, there's the effect of movies not aging well, you know. And I'll tell you one right now that did not age well was Freddy versus Jason for me. I watched that the other day. I'm like, holy shit, this is dog piss. Dog piss that won't resurrect Freddy. Also, so
well, thank you for clarifying.
yeah, yes. But I watched it. I'm like, man, this just doesn't hold up. And it like I re-ranked the Elm Street movies on that Letterboxd app, and it's one of the lower on my. It might be just under the remake on that list. I can't. It was a disappointment back in 2003 for me. So, ha 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 ha. Jason Lives. Yes,
Oh, come on, Virginia.
the representative of the Nate Boys is here. Hey, where can you buy cheap cum socks?
Probably Walmart.
Amazon, Walmart. Yeah, yeah. Nate couldn't be with us tonight. I think he wanted to. I also think he might have been like shining us on a little bit. So I don't know. But Nate's list is on the well. I think he posted it on mine. Did he post it on yours?
No.
Yeah, I know it's on mine, so we could look at Nate's. And we this was kind of an impromptu thing, even though I I told Seth about this like 3 days ago. I was like, hey, we should do an episode and do the rankings. So I don't have like images up, but we can talk about them. I got a few images. I just don't feel like downloading a bunch of fucking pictures right now. Is that okay, Seth?
It's fine with me, man.
Yeah, I just like I downloaded like the first three for both of us, and let's get into it, and I'll show the picture because we both agree on on 33. So our number 33 is the first one on the list. We're going down. We're not starting with the best one because that's like where's the the drama in that, So number 33 is I think obvious. It's Halloween Resurrection. And Seth, you could go on for about 30 to 40 hours about this one. So why don't you truncate that down a little bit and tell us why this one just doesn't work for you?
Well, the funny thing is, like, this one was one, like, when it first came out, I was very much like a biased fanboy. And
Yeah.
so I didn't really care about any of his flaws. I was just happy to see a new Halloween movie on the big screen. But
Oh yeah.
over the years, it gets more and more difficult for me to watch.
It doesn't end well.
And I mean, my big problem isn't even Busta Rhymes. It's the opening. It's that dumbass twist with the paramedic, which makes no sense when you watch H2O because that's clearly Michael Myers at the end.
Yeah.
And then they make Laurie kind of stupid, and then it gets into the Busta Rhymes stuff, and I think it's the only film on this list where, even when I'm doing a marathon, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't care to rewatch it. So that's all.
I give this one a chance every year, regardless, because it's I'm one of those people that if I'm going to watch the the series, I'm going to watch them all, and generally I do it in an order. The only time I go backwards is if not like backwards, but like I need to watch Halloween on Halloween, But yeah, I don't hate this movie as much as most people do. Part of it feels like it's a product of its time, and then another part of it, uh, I don't know, it's cheesy. It's fucking super cheesy. It's not good,
Yeah.
And so like I don't know. I'm I was kind of indifferent on this one for a long time, but I think now I like when Halloween Ends came out the other day. I came home and I was like, Halloween is Resurrection is no longer. It's been dethroned by Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween Ends or whatever, and I have to retract that statement because it's not worse than Halloween Ends. It's just not. It's not a very well crafted movie. The Busta Rhymes stuff. The only thing I liked about it, and some people don't like about it, is the beginning. Not with explaining Michael Myers and how he's back, but the guy who's obsessed with serial killers. I kind of like that part, and that's about the only thing about the movie that I really like. I hate how they killed Laurie off unceremoniously. Yeah, it's not very good. Worst of all three franchises is absolutely Halloween Resurrection.
I mean that serial killer guy though, it kills me because he's so inaccurate when he's talking about Michael, what Michael did in '78, especially when it comes to the Halloween 2 stuff. It's like he also killed like 3 nurses and a paramedic. He killed fucking more than that.
3 nurses and a paramedic. Where? Because oh no, Halloween 2 did count in this timeline. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like he killed way more than that in Halloween 2.
Yeah, no, he killed a lot. I'm just confused as where all the like babies were in that, because remember the one girl was in the nursery ward. By the way, I'm drinking this with the rings on because I'm
I hate
fucking
to,
ghetto. But anyway, hey Alex, what's up, man? Yeah. So, what is the worst Halloween Friday the 13th uh, Elm Street film for you? Is it Resurrection? Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comments, please, and we'll
it's
get what. Go
funny.
ahead.
Funny enough, like it's getting quite a bit of a fan following.
And
I
that's.
have
Do
I
you
have a
think
couple people who on my friends list who love it.
is this before Halloween ends, or is it because
Yeah.
of Halloween ends? You know, it's just like the Star Wars, the prequel movies are getting a lot of love because they hated the Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. You know,
Well,
so
this is before Halloween ends. Like one of them is a buddy of mine who I've known for a long time. He's always been a big defender of it. And then there's this guy who sent me a friend request. He's making like a fan film based on the Retribution script.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'd watch that.
yeah, me too. And like he's a huge fan of Resurrection as well. So I mean, it's got its fans. It's just not for me.
Yeah, and if you don't know, Retribution was the original title, and there is a script. Well, actually, you did the breakdown of the script, didn't you?
Yeah.
So it's on the horrorsyndicate.com. You can check out the breakdown of what Halloween Resurrection could have been, possibly should have been. I'm getting confused because I keep
Well, no,
trying
it
to.
was supposed to be a sequel.
Oh, it's the sequel to Resurrection. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you did a lot of breakdowns, and it's hard keeping track of some of them. Real quick, what's your number 18?
What? My number 18?
Yeah.
It Friday 13th 09.
Okay, so that's my list that I'm looking at. I I'm trying to put the list side by side in Photoshop, and I keep putting my list next to my list, and it's getting infuriating. So it's like, wow, we have the exact same list. This isn't going to be fun. But
Yeah.
no, I have it wrong. Anyway, so moving on to so we both of us think Resurrection's the worst of both series or all three series. Moving on to your 32. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your 32?
My 32 is Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare.
Yes.
It is. I see Ray's heart breaking as I say this, but it's for me. It's easily the worst of the Freddy films. I think it's a little too campy, too Looney Tunes. It really kind of like lost sight of what the character and what the series is supposed to be, and it was just the wrong direction for a film that they were planning as being their final Freddy film, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a movie I can watch and I can have fun with. Like I like Carlos. I like Carlos's death. I like, well, the map says we're fucked. That part always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
So I like that stuff about it, but it's just like the the thing with Spencer in the video game.
Hey,
Thing
Spence, let's trip out.
Yeah, and then and the whole thing with John Doe, like he needs to go back to school. Like he thinks that he could possibly be the offspring of Freddy, and it doesn't make sense for his age.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with that movie, and for me, I think it's purely a nostalgia trip from because like I was telling you before the show, this was the one that I had on VHS. You know what I'm saying? This is the one that I watched constantly because I didn't have like it took me years to get all of them on VHS before I think the next one I got was the second movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. But like, so I have a soft spot for this movie, and I think I also look at it kind of differently from what other people do, where I think it's just a kind of a fun cartoon Elm Street, and yeah, that's what I give it. It's just
Yeah.
they decided they're making this last one, and let's go fucking stupid. But at the same time, it pisses me off because like 5 wasn't very good, and I would have loved to seen a continuation of the Alice storyline, but I don't
I
hate
agree.
Freddy's Dead at all. I always tease Nate about it being the proper ending and all this different stuff, and has the correct origin, which it does not. But I can't really defend it right now because it's not this low on my list. I mean, it's not high on my list
Well,
either. But
you save your defense for when it comes
yeah.
up on your list.
So my 32 is Jason X, and it's also your 31. So we can go ahead and uh, talk about Jason X and how bad Jason X is. And I know it's another situation where I know a lot of people like Jason X. It's fun. It's a cartoon. It's that early 2000s shitty sci-fi type of Jason movie. I mean, it's all those people who were doing those sci-fi shows on sci-fi, and were in it. But I just this is what I waited for 8 years.
Yeah.
You know, uh, like that's what I was left with. What about you?
It's a movie where it. I think it's totally for me. It's the Freddy's Dead of the Jason movies.
Oh, that makes sense. I can see that. Yeah.
But it was like it's one of those movies too. It's like I remember being in the movie theater seeing the first trailer for this. When it
Mhm.
had the "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" song, and I was really excited for it. And when it first came out, I went and I saw it, and I loved it for what it was. Like I didn't expect anything out of it. I was like, it's Jason in space. This is gonna be corny as fuck. So I enjoyed it, and I can have fun with it. It's bad, and that's why it's my number 31. But it's a movie where I can have a little fun with it, especially if I watch it at a distance from like the earlier ones.
Like Paramount
If you
movies.
watch like 1 through 6 and then you watch Jason X right after, you're like, what the fuck happened to this franchise? But yeah, I mean, it's at my number 31 because it's easily just a bad movie.
Yeah. So just to recap real fast: 33 is Resurrection, 32 is Freddy's Dead, and
Mhm.
31 is Jason X. For me, 31 is Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie film, and this movie for a long time was below a Resurrection because it just was. To me, it's like, what the fuck was he doing? This is a pile of dog shit. Like, come on, Rob Zombie, what are you doing? You mean Halloween 1 I didn't like either, but like it took me talking to you guys and watching both cuts to kind of get into this movie. And the more I watch it, it does get better, but at the moment it's the my second least favorite Halloween movie. So you have it higher on your list.
Correct.
You
I
have it.
will,
Oh, you have it. Oh, okay, weird. Okay.
yeah. I will say it's like I told you before the show. It was one of those movies when me and my buddies went to go see it. We walked out of the theater hating it. I mean, our whole car ride back was just trashing the movie, and then like a year later, getting it at Walmart in the bargain bin, and then rewatching it again, knowing what it was, and I kind of accepted it. So I'll save my defenses for when that comes up, but it was a movie that when my initial reaction was definitely hatred.
I did not see it in the theater. I did not buy it on DVD. My brother actually told me he went out and saw it in the theater, and he's like, "You're gonna hate it." I'm like, "I am. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go see it." And he's like, "Cancel your tickets." So I canceled my tickets, and I didn't go, and I got my money back before even seeing it. And so this lovely Halloween set that I have behind me from Scream Factory. You know, that's when I finally watched it, in which it has both cuts. So I watched it and I was like, what the fuck, man? So that's why it's so low for me. I have a feeling it's like I said, there's the Halloween Ends effect, where I felt like Halloween Ends, even though I think Halloween Ends is a better movie overall. but Halloween Ends kind of helped make this and the 2007 Rob Zombie Halloween better for me. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to your number 30 is Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, it's another one where I can have some fun with it. I do. It's terrible as a Jason movie because there's very little Jason in it. There's that whole stupid thing where he can be born through another Voorhees and he comes out with a mask on and all that. But at the same time, I think a lot of the characters are fun. I forget what's her name though. The chick that runs the restaurant there, was it Joey B or something like
Joey
that?
B, yeah.
Yeah,
We have a place called Joey B's up here, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw it in downtown last week. I was like, "What the fuck?" in St. Louis. And when I said it to my friends, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a good place." I'm like, "No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't understand the reference. Never mind."
Yeah. Don't you touch that little ray of fucking sunshine?
Yeah, I love her death.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Again, okay. First of all, I know Adam Marcus a little bit.
Really nice guy.
I guess maybe I'm a little bit friendlier to this, even though for a long time it was my least favorite. And after talking to him about it a little bit and how hamstring he was, and again, I'll talk about this when we get to it, which on my list it is coming up in like 5. Anyway, it's just there's a lot more to it. It's a fun movie to me. So anyway, my 30 is Elm Street 2010. This is one that just keeps growing on me. It's just it doesn't top any of the original movies. But I will tell you, if I watch it again this year, which I probably will because I haven't watched it yet this year, I bet you my list is going to change. You know why? Because I just watched Freddy versus Jason. So I guarantee my list is going to change because I fucking Freddy versus Jason is going to be at the very bottom of my list at some time. Hey, Luke, how you doing, buddy? Luke, Virginia, Steven, Matt, some good people in here. Make sure you share the video, like us on, like the video, like us, follow us, whatever. Anyway, so now this one bothers me for you. We're on to Seth's number 29. And like, again, this is a nostalgia thing for me because I had a VHS tape and it had Dream Child, Revenge of Michael Myers, and Jason Takes Manhattan, which is but the thing is, like, it's not your least favorite, which I thought it was, of the Friday the 13th movies. I love Jason Goes to Hell, but you seem to fucking hate it. I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah. So this was my least favorite for a long time, and my good buddy Josh, who actually watches our videos, not when we're live, but
he needs to watch us when we're live.
I know, right? He's a huge Friday the 13th fan, and every time he comes over, he definitely talks about how much he likes the movie. He has a lot of fun with it, and we talked it out, and it has kind of grown on me, and I give it a little bit more credit because I prefer the Paramount
the Paramount
movies over the New Line. So it kind of felt weird to me that I did have it as my least favorite, even though I always say that I prefer Paramount over New Line. And it did feel like a Paramount Jason movie. It just, there was a lot, for me personally, there's a lot of stupidity in it that I can't get over. The toxic waste in the sewers, Kid Jason.
How do you know? You've never been to New York City in the sewer, have you?
And the teleportation.
Oh, hey, your buddy Josh is watching us now.
Oh, no shit. That's cool.
That's awesome. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
First of all, Luke says he likes the Paramount better. I mean, who's going to tell me that the New Line movies are better than the Paramount movies? Because I'll send you back to hell with Jason.
Yeah.
If you're serious about that. Oh, Jason X is way better than Final Chapter. No. Yeah. Jason Hell's better than Jason Lives. No. Leave.
The thing that I do love the most about this movie, though, is Julius and his little attempt at boxing Jason on the rooftop.
Yeah, I mean, he stood his ground You know, like take your best shot, motherfucker. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Jason, this is like the first time, like, well, I guess not the first time, but Jason really kind of trolls Julius a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like he just lets him go. But
yeah.
you know, I really like this one. I watched it a lot. I have a lot of fun with it. It's way further down on my list, or up, whatever way you're looking at it. I like it better. My 29 is Freddy versus Jason, and you have that about where I have Jason Takes Manhattan. Um, just this movie just doesn't hold up. When was the last time you watched it? See,
Um,
that's the problem. That's the problem. It's been forever. I'm telling you, watch it again and tell me that it's not like just like it does not age well at all. You got the fake Jay, you know, from fucking
oh, that's always bugged me.
yeah, that guy. I hate
Yeah,
the scene out in the cornfield when the guys call him Jason Jethro and all that shit, you
yeah,
know, and like the whole bullshit where uh I'd never loved this one, but the whole bullshit where Jason can't, you know, he's scared of water. What? Come on. Like I understand where they're coming
yeah.
from because, you know, he drowned. But like, I mean, how many times have we seen him in water throughout the fucking series? He
He's
spent
had no
half of
problem
Jason
going
Manhattan's
straight
in the
in.
water, huh? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like he came after Tommy in the water.
yeah,
It's no, Jason's not afraid of water. And Robert Englund, this might be his worst like performance as Freddy. And I know that this got chopped up a little bit. They had a bad director for this movie. Like there's this like I think in the movie, and I think Robert Englund even was mad about this one where they're fighting and he says, "Hey, asshole," you know, and I guess originally he said, "Hey, mama's boy," but they changed it to asshole. It's like, why would it be mama's boy? You know, like they made some weird decisions in this movie,
yeah,
and I'm growing to hate it. Like the only thing that's salvageable for me is I like when I was watching it the other night, that beginning with Freddie narrating, talking about, you know, everything that happened to him, and then the scene where Jason's mom is talking, even though it's Freddie, is talking to him. I like that, but then the rest of the movie, what's her name from Destiny's Child? She's awful. You
yeah,
know, the one guy who's in like every B movie, the cop. I can't
yeah.
stand that fucking guy. You know, and like there's nothing redeemable except for a couple of like shots in the movie, like when Freddy and Jason face off in the burning cabin, like they're face to face. That's cool, but like that's just a scene. The fight sucked. There was no, you know, definitive winner. You know, the only loser was the fans, in my opinion. Oh, I said it.
They did cop out with the ending. They didn't want to piss off either fan base, so they couldn't really decide who won.
Yeah, the it would have been really cool though if they would have been able to pull off that ending where they both go to hell and Pinhead's down there and says, "Gentlemen, there's what seems to be the problem," or whatever. You know, that would have been cool. But
Well,
whatever.
I mean, the problem with Freddy vs. Jason is the concept itself. I mean, you're gonna tell me Freddy, who struggled with teenage girls, is gonna be able to take on Jason? All of a sudden, he knows kung fu and he's this expert fighter. I just don't buy that part of it.
I feel like a different director would have done, even with that script, probably a lot better. You know, New Line. Well, I mean, New Line is the house that Freddy built. You know, it says it's more of a Freddy movie. But
It
we're gonna,
is.
yeah, we're gonna keep moving to 28, which we have the same number 28. It's Halloween 5: The Revenge of Tina. Tina.
Cookie Woman.
Cookie Woman. This is another one that keeps falling on my list. Back when I started the Horror Syndicate, I was like so much nicer to movies. Like if you read my review, this it's not that bad to me. Like I was like, this is a great Friday night. Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. You know what? No, it's not, because like I knew I never liked Tina. You know, but like again, talking to you guys and Nathan, who's very passionate about Ellie Cornell and Rachel, you know, and you too, really, you know, you guys like love her, and I get it. I do too, but I didn't think about how they just again unceremoniously killed her off. And then Jamie's got this love affair with Tina, who we didn't even see in the first movie. Why didn't they just get the Lindsay chick from not the first movie, but Halloween 4.
Only 4, yeah.
Yeah, why not have her, which is Lindsay Wallace, right? Seth disappeared. I don't know what just happened. But when he comes back, we'll get to more of his list. But I don't know. What do you guys think of Halloween 5? It's just gotten to a point where for me, it's falling tremendously on like in my rankings. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those that, hey, buddy, you didn't miss much in the 15 seconds you were gone. But like, I think what I was going to say was I think Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 will eventually, I think I'll prefer that more. And Helena watched that with me, by the way, Halloween 2, and she liked it a lot. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Anything else you want to say about Halloween 5?
Well, yeah, I mean, just the whole thing with Tina, it didn't make sense because, like, if it was, if you took everything that happened with Tina in that movie and you just made it Rachel, it would have been so much more impactful, especially with her sacrificing herself.
Mm-hmm.
So dying, saving Jamie, like that moment, like imagine that was Rachel instead of Tina. I mean, I think the movie would have been so much better.
The only way the movie benefited from having Rachel being dead is that end scene where he's got the coffin set up for her and she sees Rachel's body sitting there, but he could have still done that.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's just like the only thing that the way it's benefit is because she thinks Rachel's probably clear and safe wherever she's supposed to be, and then she sees her. It's like, oh no. But yeah, no. Halloween 5 is such a fucking stinker, and it's taken me being a part of the horror community, which I had never been before 2016, to realize some of these movies are just not as good as I thought they were. So.
And one more thing is I don't like asshole Loomis.
Yeah, he's out of his fucking mind in that movie. I look at it as he's just fucking fed up. He's just fed up.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people who, I mean, I know people who love this movie too.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things they defend about it is that this is Loomis who's really tired. He's at the end of his rope. He's desperate. But it's just, it's just too close to child abuse, and it's just out of.
But he did save them from cutting her neck open, so your tracheotomy.
Yeah, he's just it's just out of character for me.
Yeah, it is.
For the Loomis character.
I like that when they did 6, they brought him back to somewhat the Loomis that we remember from the first couple.
A little bit more humble.
Yeah, I loved his performance in 6. So moving on to 27, your 27 is the 2010 Elm Street.
Yes. It's never been a movie that I hated. Not even after seeing it for the first time in the theater. I think it's visually interesting. I like the micro naps. I think Jackie Earle Haley is really, like, he deserved better. Because I think he could have been an incredible Freddy.
I think he's too small.
The main characters are just kind of, they're not interesting people, and it I don't know, I've never hated it as much as a lot of other people do, but at the same time, it's not one I go for very often.
I only watch it once a year, if that.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the micronap thing. I think that's visually it was really cool, and I think it had a lot of potential. It's just I think the characters are the big reason why it didn't work.
So, it's growing. I mean, my biggest problem is Jackie Earle Haley, who's a good actor, and I could see him in the role. He was shorter than some of the women. And so he was not very imposing to me, and his makeup, he looked awful. He looked terrible.
Oh, yeah. The makeup was terrible.
Yeah,
but I don't blame him for that. I mean,
no, you can't blame him for that. And you really can't blame him for his stature. But like Robert Englund, when you see his like silhouette in any of the movies, you're like, he's gangly and skinny, and he's taller. I mean, he's not like 6'8" or some shit, but he's taller than Jackie Earle Haley's only like 5'3" or 5'4". He's a short dude. And
Yeah.
that scene when he's like, and towards the end, wrestling around with Nancy, he just looks ridiculous. It looks like she's wrestling with a little kid because he's so small. And that's a big problem. He's just way too small to be Freddy. And I know that's usually not a problem, because like he's a Wolverine height. Yeah, like Hugh Jackman's too big to be Wolverine, but like that's not as big of a problem as somebody who's trying, stalking kids in their nightmares and shit. I just yeah, I don't know. Say numero one, Halloween, Michael Myers. All right. Yes, Michael Myers. He's the number one slasher. So anyway, yeah, it's growing on me though, and you're right about the characters. I think the most interesting character in the movie dies earlier in the movie. I think at the very beginning of the movie, it's the in the diner. I think
Yeah.
he could have been the most. He was like the most interesting because she didn't get to know him very much.
Yeah.
But for me, 27 is currently Halloween Ends. Um, Another movie that's growing on me, but I'm so confused as to why they started a story on the last chapter of a movie.
Yeah.
Like that's still my biggest problem because Corey could have been a cool idea if they would have done it in a different place. It just made like little sense to me. And I know how Nate has a new article up on the horrorsyndicate.com where he talks about his love for this movie. But like the band geek thing, like I know we've seen jocks do it, and that's the stereotypical thing. But like I don't get the band geek thing. Like how I think the whole thing why they're bullying him is because they know that he's not going to do shit because he killed a kid inadvertently. But I don't know, like, and I know it wasn't like what we were hoping we'd get, the final battle, but really, in hindsight, like we're not going to watch Michael Myers and Laurie showdown, have a showdown for 90 minutes. And we got that in Halloween 2018 anyway. So it wasn't a bad movie. It just was a strange thing to do for the last movie. That fight with Corey in the sewer where he took the mask kind of bugs me. I know it bugs you too.
Yeah.
I know you want to talk about it, but it's coming up for you. You want to wait till?
Yeah, I'll just wait till it comes out. It's a few spaces up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Your next one is Rob Zombie's Halloween at number 26.
Yep. It's I appreciate Rob Zombie bringing the franchise back to like I guess I'd say true horror in a way because like Resurrection and H2O they felt a little too safe. And what Rob Zombie did was he made Michael Myers very, very dangerous and brutal, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a movie where I think the second half is really good. The first half I struggle with. I mean, when you put this movie in, the first thing you start with is just this really obnoxious, really loud trash family dialogue, and it's too much for
mm-hmm.
me. It's just like I I didn't mind, Rob doing like the psychopath instead of the shape, because I feel like remakes need to do something different instead of just copy what came before. And so I appreciate that he was bringing in a new idea to Halloween and to Michael Myers, but it's just like the dialogue is just way too much in the beginning, and it's a movie that I felt like got better, as it went on.
Yeah.
His movies are. I like him as a director, not so much as a writer. And his Halloween movies, even though they're lower on my list, I do enjoy them for what they are. But at the same time, I can't say that I would prefer them over, most of the rest of the franchise.
It blows my mind that some people like this over the original, but that's their own choice. That's their own journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll explain mine because mine's coming up. But number 26 for me is Halloween H2O. And just like Freddy versus Jason, this one just keeps falling. I don't know. Like I know at some point I'll like Halloween Ends better, because I think I'm very close to that as it is. But Halloween H2O just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And the only saving grace for it is probably the very end when she, chops his fucking head off. That's like the only thing. 'Cause, like the masks look terrible. I don't like they took it out of Haddonfield, and the movies have not been the same since Dr. Loomis has been gone.
Amen.
Yeah, so like it's the I have a T-shirt that's it's a playing card and it's got Michael Myers. It says Pure Evil and it's got Dr. Loomis on the other side. It's because they're the same side, or they're on the same card, but they're different sides of the same card basically. And that's true. I feel like you can't have Michael Myers without Dr. Loomis. I think too much is made of Laurie Strode, in my opinion. And I think it's because it's Jamie Lee Curtis. But like, I don't think. I mean, first of all, in these new movies, you take away the sister element, which bothered me. You know how much it bothers me,
Mhm.
because like I know it gives him a reason to kill, and that was one of the things we like about him. And one of my complaints about Halloween '07 is there's too much reason for Michael to kill. Like he's bullied, he's treated like shit. But yeah, you need like in you remember Leslie Vernon, you need the Ahab, and
Yes, yes.
Loomis is that Ahab, and that's this movie. When I watched it, I remember leaving the theater thinking to myself, something's missing. Something is missing. And my brother at the time was 10 years old. He goes, Dr. Loomis wasn't in it. It's a totally different movie without him. I'm like, you're right, absolutely right. And so this has never been one that I've liked. And I feel bad because Rene Rivas, he came on the show. He did Spirit of Haddonfield,
Mhm.
which is like a 20-minute sequel to this movie, and it's a fine movie and everything. But he thought I loved this movie, and I was like, no, I hate this movie. I actually do hate this movie, and it spawned the worst Halloween movie ever. So yeah, that's it for me for that. That's my 26. Seth's 26 was Rob Zombie's Halloween, and your number 25 is Halloween 2. And is it a, do you like which cut do you recognize when you say Halloween 2?
The director's cut of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I think, it's actually the only one I watched now. Um, it's got just a little bit more to it, um, I think, character wise, and I just prefer it. Um, this is a movie, because I know you had this pretty low on your list. This is a movie I hated, when I first saw it. I mean, my
Yeah.
friend Josh can attest to this. We trash talked the movie coming back from the theater, but it's a movie that's been growing on me, because I do appreciate some of the things that Rob Zombie was trying to do with it. Um, I, he really kind of focused on um, the the trauma aspects of which makes sense
Especially
with
in the director's cut. Especially
yeah,
in the director's cut, yeah.
right, and it makes sense with Rob Zombie's version of Halloween, because it's definitely a much more brutal Michael Myers, and
Hmm.
everything that happened in his first film was much more heinous than most of the shit in the other films. I there's things I don't like about it still, even though it is growing on me. I especially do not like the Dr. Loomis in this movie, and that's a shame because I
This
love
one or
Malcolm.
Halloween 5? Which one's worse?
I would prefer Halloween 5 Loomis over
Yeah, same
Rob
here.
Zombie's Halloween 2
Yeah.
Loomis. But at the same time, like I said earlier, I don't like asshole Loomis at all, either version, and he was it just so out of character. And I like Malcolm McDowell, and I like Malcolm McDowell as Loomis.
I do too. Yeah, I
He
thought he was a
was
great,
he was
great
good in the
casting.
first one.
Yeah.
He was still that character, and you know, I get what Rob was trying to do with where traumatic events can change people, but having him be this guy, like Michael's body disappears in this open field, right? They can't find his body for a year, and he's so convinced that Michael Myers is dead. It just didn't make sense to me, you know.
Not after the van crashed or whatever.
Yeah.
There's like, I think you and Nate and Keith, and I don't remember how Jared felt about this one, but I see, like, I watched the theatrical cut and it's okay, but like the scene when early in the morning and Brackett's leaving and Annie and Lori are, day one day at a time or day by day or whatever it was, and she says day by day or one day at a time, and it cuts in the theatrical, but it doesn't cut in the the director's cut. She fucking just explodes with anger, and that's such a different scene. And plus, Annie's death in this one in this cut is a lot better, more emotional because of the performance of one of the best actors of our generation, if you ask me, Brad Dourif.
Oh, absolutely, hands
Yeah.
down. And I mean, there was so much potential with this movie too. And one of the things where I'm kind of mixed on, because I think it's a really interesting idea, but I don't think he really explored it. Like, he gave Laurie other friends, but
Yeah.
the whole dynamic between Laurie and Annie and how their personalities switched because of what happened in the first one,
Mm-hmm.
where now Annie is the one that stays at home and she's, more thoughtful and all that, where Laurie becomes more wild.
Yeah.
I just wish that more time was spent on those two characters and their dynamic together, especially since Rob made the decision to uh, not kill Annie in the first one.
I wish he wouldn't have killed Annie in this one, and we would have got to see it grow more into a third movie, but obviously we didn't. So, I'm going to move on to my number 25 is Jason Goes to Hell. A lot of people do hate this movie. Mike Lombardo used to be on the show. He hates this fucking movie. No, he loves this fucking movie. He loves it. But the reasons why I like it, mostly, so Sean Cunningham, we know the story. You want to get rid of that damn hockey mask, or fucking hockey, whatever he said. And then the body hopping thing was kind of interesting. I kind of thought that was kind of fun. The only problem is we didn't get to see Jason. There were some flashes like in the mirrors and shit, but it was kind of fun in that respect. The Steven character was okay. He didn't bother me. Creighton Duke was a fucking delight. Yeah, I think about a hot dog and a donut, and I love Creighton Duke. And
Making a hot dog to a donut.
Yeah, and then the kills in this movie were fucking great. You get somebody tossed into a fucking burner. He breaks that one dude's arm. He elbows Joey B in the fucking mouth, and her whole mouth caves in. The fucking car door slamming.
Yeah,
I mean, a guy fucking melts. You couldn't have that in any other Friday the 13th movie. But like when the body is used up, it melts, and he just fucking melts after that shaving scene. Of course, the weird homoerotic shaving scene. Like, it's so fucking kind of like I said, it's like a cartoon.
Yeah,
in a way. And I like it for those reasons, but it's, again, like you say with some of these, it's not one I visit very often, and I got to be in a certain mood for this movie. Oh, the girl in the tent with that's fucking awesome. That's
great.
That's
a great kill. I mean, that's one of the positives about this movie is the gore effects.
Yeah,
I mean, they're fantastic. I mean, even with the guy like melting into the floor, like really cool effects.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm gonna
characters too, Creighton Duke is
awesome. Yeah, Creighton Duke. But like negatives, I get where there are negatives, like the Evil Dead Necronomicons in this. The whole thing with the dagger, Kandarian dagger is almost what it looks like if it's not. Him getting pulled into the ground, the little Freddy stinger. I mean, there's a lot of negatives. So like the negatives for me equal the positives, but there's one way that this goes up a notch on my list. My mom took me to see it because this was going to be the last one, because she took me 2 weeks old to see Friday the 13th. I was 2 weeks old and a baby, and she needed to see it because she was a horror fan. And she's like, she told me, she's like, I knew this movie was coming out, and I was hoping you wouldn't be born until after it came out. But you were born. I was born on her birthday, her 21st birthday. And so she couldn't find anybody to watch me. So she went and saw Friday the 13th with me. She said I slept through the whole thing, which I still do for the first movie. And no. And so like when she saw the first commercial on TV. Oh, this is gonna be the last Jason movie. We gotta go see it. And that's when she told me the story. We went and saw it, and she kind of had a moment in the theater. So this one's always gonna kind of be special for me because of that. Because of my mom, who is no longer with us. If anybody didn't know, she passed away in 2004. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
I wonder what genius at the studio was like. At New Line was like, hey, let's buy the rights to Friday the 13th, and our first movie is going to be the final Friday.
I know, right? Let's end it right here. And, and well, they didn't really get the rights to Friday. They only got the rights to Jason, really.
Yeah.
That's why the movie was the way it was. I mean, the Paramount 8 and the Friday the 13th were stuck with Paramount regardless, because of bullshit with this series. I mean, it's almost like the bullshit we've been going through the last 5 or 6, 10 years or whatever. Anyway, so yeah, Jason Goes to Hell's. And oh god, the next one for me. I'm gonna do this one first, before we do your number 24. My 24 is Friday the 13th Part 3, the most overrated in the fucking series. I'm starting to think. I'm looking at my list again. I'm like, oh, I think I like Jason Goes to Hell better than this one. I fucking don't understand why people love this movie so much. It's not fun. The only character I like is Shelly, and a lot of people I know don't like Shelly. And it's funny because I talked to Larry at the convention, and I was like, man, I love you, Larry Zerner, and he's like, oh, thanks, man. I was like, even though most of the people I know don't like Shelly, he's like, they don't. I'm like, no. And he's like, people always tell me they love me. I'm like, sorry, bro. Like, but he's insufferable at times, but he's the only character I like. And some of the kills are just okay. The upside down one where the guy's walking on his hands is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just and you know what the worst part is? If I ask most horror fans, why do you like Friday the 13th 3D so much? This is the one where he gets the mask. Who fucking gives a shit if this is why? That's why you like this movie? The mask, first of all, looks better in the next movie. Jason is better. I mean, nothing against Brooker. He's great as Jason. But fucking Jason is better in the next movie. The next movie's better. Like, come on, and I don't know. I just never really cared for this. My favorite part of this movie is the fucking intro with the disco Friday the 13th thing. That's it. I can't get. Chris is the worst final girl in the whole series. I cannot fucking stand her. This is the first time I remember rooting for Jason. I was like, kill that bitch. Like, come on. Like, I was like 8 years old. Kill that bitch, Leatherface. But anyway, yeah. So you have it. Oh, yours isn't that far away from mine.
Yeah, I'll save it for when it comes up on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured now that we're doing this, I'll speak my piece and then we'll move on to yours. You speak your piece. If you had a little 2 cents to throw in, so anyway, Halloween number 24 is Halloween Ends for you. So This is your last 3: Rob Zombie's Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, then Halloween Ends.
Yep.
So I know you were kind of in the same boat I was in with Halloween Ends. Like, how much has changed?
It's changed quite a bit. So, my first initial reaction was a knee-jerk reaction.
Right, me too.
It just, when I came out of the theater, I wasn't happy with it as a final film. The more I thought about it and then seeing it again another 2 times, it's growing on me because there are things I really like about it. Mm-hmm. I do really like the Corey Cunningham character, and I think Rohan Campbell is really good in the movie.
Let me ask you this. I mentioned this in the chat. Wouldn't this make for a great series following him? Like an episodic TV series. Like, that's what it felt like. It felt like it was going to be building up to where he was going to be the killer eventually. And he kind of was. But anyway, spoiler alert. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really love the score for it. I think personally it's my favorite score of the new 3 movies of this new trilogy from David Gordon Green. There's elements that I really like about it, but then there's stuff that I just feel like this type of story would have been better fitted for uh, not the final film in a trilogy or a storyline. I felt like it kind of lost focus on some of the things that they were kind of building towards, and I didn't. I the thing that I didn't like. I think the thing I didn't like the most was how reduced Hawkins was
Oh
as
yeah,
a character.
yeah.
They were building him up to be something really important to the whole thing,
Mhm.
and then he's just sort of like a background character who appears
Afterthought,
here and
really.
there. But yeah, it's growing on me. I don't think it's an awful movie. My initial reaction out of the theater was knee jerk. This
You
is
had it ranked number 12 of 13
yeah.
immediately. When I saw your ranking, because I saw it, I was about an hour behind you,
Hmm.
just like in real life, because I'm an hour behind you. And
Right.
anyway, because he's on the East Coast, I'm on the, and so anyway, yeah. So I didn't see your ranking before I ranked mine. I saw yours immediately after mine. I was like, oh, he's being nice. Like I saw, because I put mine at 13 immediately. I was like, oh man, Halloween Resurrection has been dethroned. But yeah, knee jerk reaction. I think knee jerk reactions a lot of times are usually harsh anyway, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's like it goes back to what our wise old friend Keith says. Sometimes it takes two or three viewings to understand and enjoy a movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that that speaks a lot um, to this movie. So that was your 24. So now you're. Do you have anything else you want to say before we move on to your 23?
No. Well, I mean, it. Like I said, it's growing on me. I'll give it a few more chances. I'm gonna get the Blu-ray when it comes out, complete my collection, and
I
you
will
know,
too. It's funny because I said I didn't like that, and Nate's like, "You're gonna buy the Blu-ray, right?" I'm like, "Fuck you, Nate." Like you got me. He's like, "You got this one, didn't you?" The because I was like, "I don't know if I'm gonna get it." He put the Last Jedi. I was like, "Damn you, Nate, and your logic."
I
uh,
own Resurrection, so I'm definitely gonna
right,
be
right,
owning.
right. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I didn't buy Halloween 2 until I got the collection. You know, because I liked Resurrection for a while, so I got the DVD when it came out.
Yeah, me too.
You know, maybe the VHS even, but like anyway, yeah. Nate, if you're gonna watch this, I'm going to buy Halloween Ends 100%. It's gonna go right in my collection, right next to Halloween Kills, which oddly enough, we talked about this before Halloween Kills came out. Remember how I was like, I hope it enhances my feelings toward Halloween in 2018. Well, Halloween Ends enhanced my feelings towards Halloween Kills a lot, and in doing that, it made Halloween 2018 much better for me. So, congratulations, Halloween Ends. Uh, moving on for you, 23 is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. So this is, let's see, your third Elm Street movie on the list.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how for a Halloween fan, I'm a terrible Halloween fan. Like 5 of them. Of
No, I mean, to be honest, most of the Halloween films are not that great. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean about it or anything, but like,
yeah,
yeah, most of the movies that were made after 1988 are not that to 2018 are not that good. You know, and I include Curse in there, even though Curse is pretty high on my list because I love that movie.
hmm
For as bad as it is, I love it. But anyway, Dream Child. I was 9 when this one was released. So was Luke. We're the same age. This is
yeah,
yours. This is yours, buddy.
yeah. So Elm Street 5 was a disappointment for me, but it's one that I did watch, especially after 4, to complete Alice's story. I do like. I think my one of my favorite things about this movie, surprisingly, is nothing to do with Freddy. It's the evolved relationship between Alice and her father. I felt like that was a nice little arc from 4 to 5.
Yeah, he saved
Um,
her ass. Like he stood up for her whenever the Jordans wanted to take the baby. That was awesome. Yeah.
yeah, 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 definitely a turnaround for that character, and I
Mm.
really enjoyed that part. And Dan's death is fucking awesome. It's the best thing about the
I
movie.
think all three of them are really good.
Yeah.
Even Marks. I know people bitch about Marks, but being a comic book fan, seeing that come to life, I'd love to see somebody create a Phantom Prowler comic. By the way, I think that'd be pretty cool. The character looked badass, in my opinion. But yeah, I could see why this is low on people's lists. You know, Freddy's kill count's really low. It's only 3, but if you think about it, he doesn't do but 3 or 4 in the movie anyway. Um, I don't know. I'll get to why I like it because I have it in my top 20. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
It's just I don't know. For me, because of how I feel about 4, it's
it's
just, you
not.
know,
It's just it's the Freddy or the revenge of like 4. Or I mean the like Halloween, the 5. It's reminds
yeah.
me a lot of that movie. It's like you set up this great story with 4, and then you fucking just knock it to pieces with 5, and they did the same thing here, in my opinion.
Well, and it's also like the direction too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about the two franchises specifically, like 4 in each one of them was really well directed, you know,
Mhm.
and then 5 you have a different director, and it just didn't feel right.
Both
And maybe
European
part of
too.
it was is that they never used the Elm Street theme. Any of Charles Bernstein's themes were never present in it,
They only did
really.
it once in Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know how
That, that's I mean, Freddy does not have a Loomis. I mean, the strength of his movies rely on him because he does have a personality, and his nemesis, the person he's fighting, whether it be Nancy or Kristen, or I want to say Lisa Wilcox, but
Alice.
Alice, yeah. And he, like, I think that theme is like just like the theme in Michael with Halloween. That's a very important thing to have in the movie.
Yeah.
That's very identifiable with the first 4 movies, especially. And I love it that it's just it's no matter what, how many times. Elm Street's my favorite horror movie, so you know where Elm Street's going to land on my list. But then no matter when I hear that theme, even if it's just a 3-second clip of it, it brings tingles to my fucking spine, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to watch Elm Street, like And I had it. It was bad. I had it for like every time somebody texted me for a while, and I'm like, ooh, which one should I watch? And Elizabeth was alive then, and Elizabeth was like, none of them. You watching too much. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I got to tell you, man, when I got Never Sleep Again, the documentary, I fucking watched that thing like 5 or 6 days straight, and I'm not talking about in bulk. I watched the whole fucking thing 5 or 6 days straight. Elizabeth would come home from work, she's like, again, like I can't get enough. These are my
It's a great
people.
documentary.
Huh?
It's a great
It
documentary.
is. It's 4 hours long, and that's too short for me.
It's
What
so
the-
interesting though. I love it though. They're so like the way they go into each movie. It's
Oh my
great.
god, the way it's presented.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm glad they were able to do a Friday the 13th. But my question is, where's the Halloween documentary? Come on. We need the exact same kind of documentary, the same fucking format, but Halloween. Call it The Night He Came Home. Like,
Yeah.
come on. It's
Yeah.
right there for you. And
That
now
H
there's a
the H
definite
25
stoppage.
isn't doing anything.
Huh?
That H 25 one is not
No,
anything.
no.
Yeah.
25 Years of Terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that. But yeah, no, like that one's not very good, but like 1428 Productions or whatever it was, come on.
Mhm.
There's a definite stopping point in the Halloween series. We're not going to get another movie for a while. I mean, we already don't have the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street in the Elm Street one. I mean, shoot that part and then release put the other thing together and edit it all together. I'll buy another copy, you know. But anyway, I'm way off track. I just fucking love those documentaries. The Never Sleep Again and Crystal Lake Memories are so
Yeah.
fucking good.
Yeah.
And
Those
if
are
you've
great.
never seen them and you're a big fan of Freddy, give me your card because you have to have seen this documentary at this point as a fan of Freddy. It's been out 12 years. Where was I? Sorry. Dream Child for you. So mine is what the fuck, people? Halloween 2007. Oh, my son is texting me. Okay, he sent me a picture which is Snickers and which is Milky Way. Good question. I think they're both Snickers. And I'm getting the Rob Zombie movie. My biggest complaint is the beginning mostly because once you get to present day or whatever it is, like I don't like the stuff in the asylum, and I really hate that daycare kid. I don't hit kids, but I wanted to hit him like so much. He was terrible. I'm glad he was recast in the next movie, but when you get to Lori and Linda, and I like the dynamic between those three girls very much in this movie. But like it takes you half an hour to get there. You watch Michael kill how many the kid, Ronnie, whatever, his sister's boy for four people before and I love the opening, and I like that Rob Zombie did something different, but he gave us too much of a reason and really gave us a face of Michael Myers. When in Halloween 2000 or 78, John Carpenter's Halloween, you see his face, sure, at the very beginning, but it's forgettable after that. You know what I'm saying? Like I can still see Dags and so all the stuff in the fucking asylum or whatever. I just hate it. I fucking hate that. The only thing I like is the scene with Ishmael. He's like, "I was good to you, Mikey," and he's like, "Fuck that, I don't care." I like that. That's Michael Myers. He doesn't give a shit. But like, and I thought they cast him way too big. Tyler Mane should have played Jason or something like that. Not. Anyway, but it's growing on me. It's growing on me a lot. I forgot to mention with his Halloween 2. I love the hospital scene. I know it's a dream or whatever, but I love that scene.
Oh, that was great. I mean, even when I first saw the movie in the theater, it was great. And then when it turned out to just be a dream, I'm like, "Fuck you, Rob Zombie."
Yeah, that same reaction for me. But yeah, 2007's Rob Zombie's Halloween or whatever. It's getting better for me. It's funny because my next one, I'm gonna go to my next one, then go to yours. My next one, it's almost like round robin. This is what I would. Anyway, my next one is actually Freddy's Dead. So I like Freddy's Dead better than the Rob Zombie Halloween. But it's mostly purely because it's like, first of all, it's Robert Englund's really his last performance as Freddy, because in New Nightmare it's kind of something different, and he's just a fucking ham in this movie. It's a cartoon. One of my favorite scenes in all the Elm Street movies is in it, and it's that scene when he's talking to Doc, and he's like, first they tried burning me, and he cuts his finger off. Then they tried burying me. Cuts his, but he does it a different way because he ends on the middle finger, and he's like, then they even tried holy water, but I just keep on ticking. I love that scene so much. It's, and I love Lisa Zane because she's gorgeous. But like the only problem I have with Freddy's Dead is the familial thing, which they ended up bringing Jason to New Line doing the same fucking thing. I don't like that very much because it's like it's almost pulling from Halloween, in a way. So, but I love Freddy's Dead. It's fun. It's silly. It's a cartoon. It's one that I can watch anytime because it's fucking ridiculous. That's it. There was a time that I hated it so much after I got older and I put a name or face to the name of the director, Rachel Talalay or whatever, Talalay, however you say her name. Mm-hmm. I fucking hate that bitch. After the documentary came out, I was like, I hate her, but I've gotten over that, and I've gotten to the point where I accept what it is. It's goofy. I just wish they brought Johnny Depp back. I kind of wish they would have found a way to bring Heather Langenkamp back for like a silly scene or whatever. But that's my 22. Your 22 is
Freddy vs. Jason.
You're wrong. That movie's garbage. I think it's going to change once you watch it again. So I'm going to throw the gauntlet down for you right now. Tonight. I know it's late for you. Tonight, you have to watch it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, it's probably not going to happen.
By the time we're done with this show.
Yeah. I want. He said no. They're okay. So the one on the right is the Snickers. I want to know I want to know if it changes for you though after you see it. But like, what do you like about this one?
Well, listen. Here's the thing. It's not
besides it being the dream thing that we've always wanted since we were kids. I mean, that's like. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing for me though, is that it's not like it's been a long time since I've last seen it, and I know it has aged terribly. Um, I still think it's kind of fun. I like I think the makeup on Freddy is so much better than the makeup on him in Freddy's Dead and Dream Child.
Yeah, Freddy's Dead. He looked awful.
Yeah, and
That's
even
the
before
worst one. Yeah.
even before that with Dream Child, it didn't
Mhm.
look very good. So the makeup effects were improved. I think here's the thing I always say about this movie is that it is a terrible Friday the 13th movie, but it is a pretty fun Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
I give them props for being able to work both locations in too. We got to see the iconic, 1428 Elm, and we got to see Crystal Lake. I appreciate that, but there's a problem.
It's a 15-minute drive.
It's not a 15-minute drive. I mean, Springwood is in Ohio, and we know Crystal Lake to be in New Jersey.
Right.
So I mean, that's a long fucking drive that they made in one night.
I think the Freddy side of the movie is pretty good. Robert's really good. The Elm Street stuff is really good. I think it feels more like an Elm Street movie than a Friday 13th movie.
Yeah.
And the Friday 13th side of it is really shitty. I don't blame Ken Kirzinger at all.
Well, no, of course not. It's not.
For
Even his performance
Jason.
isn't his fault. So really,
right, exactly. Like, he's just lumbering around. I don't know, but I
wasn't he told to be like Frankenstein's monster for this part?
Yeah, pretty much, because Ronnie Yu didn't know the franchise at all. He didn't know the characters, and
that fucker even
and it's like
he even admitted to it.
Yeah, well, it's like you wanted to have sympathy for Jason. How about having sympathy? How about drawing sympathy for your main fucking characters?
Mm-hmm.
Put them in the ultimate danger between Freddy and Jason.
They tried a little bit, like the girl, what's her name, with the big boobs, Monica Keena's character. I can never remember her name. I remember her real name because I kind of had the hots for her, even though she turned out to be a fucking junkie. But yeah, way to correct yourself, Luke. But yeah, like the characters were all throwaway, and a lot of them, in my opinion, were annoying. Like the redhead guy whose brother died, fuck, I hated him. He was annoying. Is it Jason Ritter? No, not Jason. Is it Jason Ritter?
Jason Ritter. Yep.
He fucking sucks as an actor. He's terrible. Yeah. He always looks like he's scared, and yeah, I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah, no. I mean, this was the movie that we waited like 15 years for. And when I was there, I was hyped. I was ready. This is fucking a dream come true, And it didn't deliver for me, but I was like, it's Freddy versus Jason, So I can see its merits, but I also
and I have a nostalgia thing for it too, because of when it came out, and I was working at a movie theater at the time, and I had this thing where I thought my boss at the time didn't like me, but he actually ordered all the promotional material for it, and he waited for me to get back from vacation, and he let me have the stuff first before he handed out stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he gave me.
Did you still have any of it?
I wish I did, man. I wish I did. It was like this hat. There was a shirt. There was it was like a pass for like a boxing
fight. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It was a bunch of stuff, and he gave me the posters and everything like that. And I just remember the time of it coming out. I was just so excited for it, and I saw it multiple times in the theaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I mean, there was a buzz around it. There was.
Oh yeah,
a buzz.
And
it's a top-grossing film in both franchises, I believe.
Yeah, and because of that film too, is I started. It was the early days of the internet, and I made a lot of online friends and some message boards and stuff like that. People who I still talk to. So I have a nostalgia thing for it, and it has aged poorly.
Yeah.
for sure. And I understand why you don't like it.
Yeah, that's what I like. Your friend said that scene where Kate Hodder tosses Kurzinger. Kurzinger actually is in Jason Takes Manhattan as Jason at one point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I mean, and maybe I'll come to a point where I'm not as critical on it, but being somebody who's so passionate about the Friday the 13th series and the especially the Elm Street series, it's just in the sloppy CGIs, the early CGI days, I get that, but man, at least it doesn't look like fucking Lawnmower Man. I guess that's one thing I guess that's good about it. But yeah, so now it's time for you to defend Friday the 13th Part 3. By the way, we both have the wrong year listed for 3.
I was just looking at that actually. I
Yeah.
have my list printed in front of me. I'm like, I don't think that's the year it came out.
No, it came out in '82. I looked at yours. I was like, oh, he got the year wrong. I look at mine like, son of a bitch, I did it too.
Yep.
How did I do that?
Yep.
I'm a stickler for that shit. Anyway, 1982 is Friday the 13th Part 3D. Go.
Hey man, I've always had fun with this one. And technically speaking, it's the first one I saw, but I can only say that technically because the first time I watched it, I only saw like half of it. I went over a friend's house after I was working, like back when I was like, I don't know, 16 or 15 or something like that. I got out of work and I went to hang out with a friend and he was watching it. So I saw the second half of it. And yeah, I like it. I have a really strong affection for the early Paramount Friday the 13th movies. There's something about the way that they look and they feel. And this one is, it's kind of a step down for Steve Miner, who did part 2.
Isn't that amazing that it's the same director though?
Yeah. Yeah. But I have fun with it. I still enjoy watching it. I think Chris is a terrible character.
Yeah.
The actress is terrible.
Yeah.
The implied rape doesn't make any sense whatsoever with Jason. But one of the things I really love about it is the score from Harry Manfredini. Especially towards the end, there's that one scene where where Chris and her boyfriend, what's his name, Rick?
Yeah.
They come back and they notice that no one's around, and he's outside, and there's that one shot where it's like Jason's like holding him outside, like covering his mouth.
Yeah, and then he squeezes his head. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris comes out onto the porch. It's just like the music in that scene is really good.
It's the most like classic Friday the 13th score, I think, too. It's got all the elements of the first 2 and a little bit more. I agree with you on that for sure.
And I like Richard Brooker as Jason. I think he's my second favorite Jason, to be honest with you. So I like 3. It's definitely cheesy in a lot of parts. The attempts at 3D can be a little distracting when you watch it in 2D. There's 2 characters who take a shit and they don't wipe. You know how I feel about that.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like his pastel costume too. This is another thing that bothers me is that it takes place immediately after 2, and he looks completely different. His clothes are different. It's like, and I had a theory that maybe. And he's like also a bigger guy. Richard Brooker's huge compared to Warrington Gillette and Steve Dash. And Steve Dash and Warrington Gillette are 2 different sizes too. But they were. Steve Dash no longer with us. But I'm trying to get some DVD Blu-ray inserts from Keith. That's what that is, by the way, for Curse of the Mummy's Tomb and Revenge of Frankenstein, because I need to have I can't. I hate big box sets anyway that don't have individual spines and all that. So anyway, but yeah, there are things that are good about this movie, but there's a lot that bother me about it. Like I don't like most of the characters, and yeah, I already told why I don't like this one very much. Yeah, the change is the thing I don't get. Like his whole face changes. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just his clothes. I mean, you could say he's wearing that dude's clothes that took a shit without wiping. You know,
Yeah,
but
it's just the fact that he lost all that hair that he had and all that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it could have been a fever dream from Jenny because we didn't see him without his mask on until that scene in two. So
True. And
yeah,
since you don't know what happened to Paul.
right.
But and one last thing I do want to say about part three that I do like is the fact that Shelley is the only sort of like prankster character in the series who sort of gets the cry wolf thing that happens to him. Um, like I feel like his whole storyline kind of paid off with the end of it. Throughout the entire movie, he's constantly faking his death and
Mhm.
doing all this stupid shit. And then when he finally like walks into the house with his throat cut,
Yeah,
no one believes him.
yeah.
And I felt like that was sort of like a satisfying sort of conclusion to his arc. Um, but yeah, that's what I think about that.
So your 21 is Friday the 13th 3D. Mine might be controversial. And I think we talked about, I was like, my list might be controversial altogether. But my number 21 is, and I'll do my number 20 right after because I think that this could turn some heads. My 21 is Friday the 13th, 1980. And I get that it kickstarted the series, but it's almost the worst, in my opinion, of the Paramount 8, with 3D being my least favorite. Okay, so I like Friday the 13th. I respect Friday the 13th, but it's a fucking drag to get through. You know, it's like there's not much really going on. The characters are kind of boring. The most annoying character comes from this movie, Ned. And I don't know. There's not really much to it. And the saving grace of this movie is Pamela Voorhees. You know, because Alice isn't even that interesting to me. She's kind of boring, you know. And the
Yeah.
most interesting character before that was what's her name? Marcy, I think. The one who thought she wanted to be an actress, and Kevin Bacon's girlfriend. She
Oh
was.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought she was interesting because she had like a lot of personality versus Alice, who was very blah. And nothing against. I mean, again, I actually like. Uh, what's her name? I can't think of her name now. Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like her as she's really sweet. I met her also, but like, yeah, I don't know. This movie just is kind of boring. You know, the Crazy Ralph is my favorite character in the whole fucking movie. I do like Pamela Voorhees, and I like what happens, and of course the stinger at the end is great. And it's an iconic movie, but like it's just a drag to get through anymore. It's like the series is it's Jason's series, and now watching this, it's Jason's not there, and I want Jason. That's the whole reason to watch Friday the 13th anyway, is Jason, really. So anyway, I know you got a different spot on your list. You're not very far from
Not
mine,
very
but
far at all. So
yeah. But number 9 or number 20, so we're getting into the top 20 for me. So number 21 for me is Friday the 13th. Number 20 is Jason Takes Manhattan. I like Jason Takes Manhattan a ton more than I like the fucking first Friday the 13th movie. It's fun. It's stupid. They bring back the crazy person that nobody believes. Sure, it takes place on a boat and they filmed in Vancouver, but I like Rennie as a final girl. We named our dog after her. And I like
she was
most of the
likable.
characters I don't like. I really like Julius, of course. I like that scene. Like Jason's very inventive in this movie. Like he comes back. I know there's the problem with Crystal Lake being connected to the ocean, but like his first two kills are pretty cool. He uses that harpoon thing, and then he ends up like stabbing the girl who won't move in the stomach. And later on, you find out that her boobs and her nipples are hard and stuff. Those were fake completely. They had a piece on her, for that. But like, it's and he gets his mask from another guy who like I like the way he gets his mask in this one. He got his mask from Tommy Jarvis in the sixth movie, and now his mask gets broken in half in seven, and he needs a mask. This guy, this jackass with long curly hair, has a mask. It just so happens. But like, the kill with the hot coal is a lot of fun. He knocks Julius's head off, and also I like Charles. He's insufferable and he's a prick and he's the worst, but he gets his comeuppance. And that's one of the best parts of the movie, is when he dies. But yeah, overall, it's not a good movie. And I know that, but I have fun with it. And I've told you, and I've told everybody, I had a tape that had Dream Child, Revenge of Michael Myers, and Jason Takes Manhattan. I used to watch all three of those back to back to back constantly. So I like Jason Takes Manhattan quite a bit. It's not great, and I know that. But this list is based on how I feel about these movies, and I like it. So sue me if I think it's better than, than Friday the 13th. I have more fun with it. Plus, he kills a girl with a flying V, the guitar. Come on. AJ or something like that, or CJ. I can't remember her name. Not CJ. That's the guy who plays Jason in Part 6. CJ Graham. Anyway, so that's my take. You got to speak your piece. So we're gonna move on to your number 20, which is
My number 20 is Halloween H2O. I loved it when it first came out. I've mentioned it before. Like back when this movie first came out, I wasn't big into the Halloween movies
which is hard to think that you were never big in the Halloween movies. It's like,
well, I grew up with my mom always watching them on VHS, and there was something about them that kind of creeped me out, like especially the music. And I was like what was I, 14 or 15? Whatever. I was doing a part-time summer job, and I got out at like noon, and my dad was working at the movie theater, so I got dropped off over there from a coworker, and it was August, and there was nothing that, August is usually a dumping ground for movies.
yeah.
And I was like, I'll go see it. And so I went, I saw it, and I loved it. I walked out of the theater, I talked about it up a storm with people. This was the time of Scream, so I loved it for being like a Scream type of movie back then. That's the reason why
Well, that's the style of those movies. That was like the whole fad.
Right,
which the second wave of slasher movies in a way.
Which has not aged well for any movie not Scream.
Yeah.
So I look at this now, and that's a huge flaw, is the fact that it's more trying to be a Scream movie than a Halloween movie. I like the beginning scene, and I love the third act.
The beginning scene, when you say that, tell me, are you talking about the kids and the hockey shit?
Yes, I'm talking about Jason Gordon-Levitt. But mainly because of Marion Chambers. It was fun having her come back.
Yeah, I liked when they cut to the credits and they show all the newspaper clippings. I thought that was good. That was about the only thing about that scene I like. The Joseph Gordon-Levitt stuff was stupid, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I like that opening. But the end, the third act, I think is really good. It's a really solid third act. It's a really solid end to the series,
Yeah, I agree. Like sorry, I had to take a picture for Keith. Whenever I'm trying to get him to make a slip for my Frankenstein. Anyway, whenever I saw it in the theater, like I immediately didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like it, and my reaction, I had the legit same reaction to this as I did with Halloween Ends. At least it's over now. That's what. And like we didn't have the internet back then, so like like what happened to the people from 6? So I didn't know that they skipped over 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Like because she faked her death, and I don't know. It's just Halloween H2O is just it's another one that's aging poorly, and it's just not one of my favorites. So now you get to talk about Friday the 13th because it's your number 19.
The original Friday 13th is a movie I've never particularly cared for, and until recently, where over the last couple of years it's grown on me. If I did this list beforehand, I mean, this would have been like, I don't know, maybe number 30 on the list, but it has grown on me over the years, and that's because mainly is, like I mentioned earlier, is that there's something about the early Friday the 13th movies. I like the look and feel of them.
Yeah,
I
get
I,
that.
I kind of miss, as like when I marathon these movies, like when I get to the later ones, I kind of miss the style of the earlier ones. So it's growing on me. I think
I think you and I talked about how if they make a new Friday the 13th movie, it has to be set in the 80s, and they got to get that feel right. You
yeah,
know, I think there's certain movies that belong in certain times, and I think Friday the 13th belongs in the 80s.
yeah.
That's just my opinion.
80s camp is completely open.
That would be great. There's only one movie that has kids in it, you know,
Exactly.
and it's the best one.
The second best one, to be honest with
Nah,
you.
no.
Yeah.
uh, we can agree. We can both agree that the best one is better than the first movie. So our best one is better than the first movie.
This is one of those rare franchises where the first one is not the best
I
one.
know it really is because
Yeah.
you'll as anybody who watches this will see that Elm Street 1, that's a spoiler alert, and John Carpenter's Halloween are the best of their respective series.
Mm-hmm.
Where Friday the 13th, and it's again, I think when talking about what I said about, I watched these for mostly for Jason, and he's not in this one. Well, he is, but
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, so that's your number 19. Mine is Dream Child. For number 19 for me, I don't really have much to say, but to piggyback off what you said, I love Dan's kill. I wish we could get the full cut of that.
Yeah.
And I like Greta's as well, and I like Mark's. And this is the last real Elm Street movie, because Freddy's Dead is not technically an Elm Street movie, but this is essentially the end of the story, and it was a disappointment because I love Lisa Wilcox so much, and I love Alice as the character, and it's a kind of a disappointment, but again, it's nostalgia. I saw it in the drive-in. It's one of the first movies I ever saw in a drive-in, which was really cool. I saw it with Over the Top, I think. No, what is the prison movie that Sylvester Stallone's in? Lockup?
Oh,
Something like that. I think it's Lockup. Let me look. But
something
yeah,
like
so I saw those double billed, and Friday or Elm Street 5 was the second one, and that was the reason we went. We didn't care about the Sylvester Stallone movie. I was too busy talking about what my theories to my mom about what was going to happen in this movie because she hadn't seen a single trailer for it. Yeah, Lockup is the movie, but I don't know. I like it. It's not one of my favorites, but I also understand why people rank it so low versus 1 through 4, and then New Nightmare. Next on my list is number 18, Halloween Kills, and I know this was very divisive between the two of us when it came out last year, but it's another one that's growing on me. And my biggest problem was the ending and how powerful he is. After he gets the shit kicked out of him, he gets stabbed and all this different stuff. And why didn't Brackett take the shot in the face when he had him fucking point blank? He just had to say, whatever he said. I don't remember what he said, but and they killed Karen off, which I loved Karen. So that kind of bothered me. But as we go on, I like it a lot better. And there's a lot of fun. I know Evil Dies Tonight's a silly thing and everything, but there's a lot of stuff going on in this movie that I really like. I like Little John and Big John. I do not like the mob mentality thing that much, but it doesn't bother me as much as some other people. I get why they're doing that. I mean, Loomis alludes to it in Halloween 2. Another reason why I think they shouldn't have excluded Halloween 2. But it's okay. It's a fun watch at this point. So that's my number 18. Yours is the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th, which we can double bang this one because it's my number 17 double bang. That's a gang bang. It's my number 17, and I really like this movie. 2009's Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I honestly, even though it's at number 18 on my list, I think it's a fucking awesome movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I think from this point out, everything on my list are movies that I really, really like.
Yeah, I think when getting to Halloween Kills, because I'm starting to really like Halloween Kills, but yeah, this one I saw 3 times in 2 days in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, it was to me. I still enjoy watching it, and full disclosure, I saw this before I became a Supernatural fan.
Oh, really? So this was your first introduction to Jared Padalecki, or did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see
no,
the
I saw this before
House of Wax?
many years before Supernatural. After
Man,
House
I
of
was
Wax.
balls deep into Supernatural when this came out because I was like, oh man, he's finally getting out there. And then Jensen had My Bloody Valentine the same year.
Yeah,
I was like, man, my boys are doing some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think the remake is pretty fucking awesome. I remember seeing it for the first time in the theater, and the movie's getting going with these certain characters, and after 15 minutes or so, the title card finally pops up, and it's like, holy shit, that's just the opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's not even like they have 2 openings because you get the Pamela, the first movie.
Yeah,
this is the way to remake the first Friday the 13th. When I saw that, because I was like, I know they're gonna have to address this somehow, and they did it fucking expertly by having it as like a credit scene, and very short. Like you see what happens to Pamela. Cool, that was awesome. And then you get into the story, and you're like, okay, so these are the characters you follow around, and then you get the title card. You're like, fuck, this movie is just. I loved it. I loved that. The it's like a teaser in a way, and with that you get Sackhead Jason, which was super. He looked awesome, and and this is another one. Like a lot of these characters are characters you see later on, like Danielle Panabaker. Can't remember how to say her name, but she's in Arrow, and I like Panabaker, something like that. I really like her. She was really good in it. The guy Trent is a douchebag in Transformers also, and something else. And you get one of the best scenes in any Friday the 13th. Come on, say it with me,
stupendous.
Yes, one of the best moves of all time. It's a fun movie, man. I like the characters, I like a lot of the kills in the movie. Like the one where the girl's hiding under the dock after he fucking shoots a bow and arrow, which I thought was cool. Well, some people thought it was dumb, but I was like, that's fucking cool. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, Derek Mears is great as Jason.
Mears is great.
I love him as Jason. He's one of my favorites. And I love too that it wasn't so much like a remake, but it was like a I don't know, like a re-amalgamation of the first 4 movies. It was like the first 4 movies kind of like thrown in a blender.
Yep. Yeah.
And
very much
Jason,
so.
Like I said, Jason's really badass in it. And I like the score from Steve Jablonsky, but I do kind of wish it had the classic Harry Manfredini score.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the other complaints, and Vince from Never Hike Alone, who we've had on the show numerous times.
Yeah, this is one of his favorite movies, right?
He hates this one so much, and I can kind of see, but he talked like a lot of people bitch about the tunnels, but like I don't. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me one bit. It doesn't make that much sense, but it's not a deal breaker for me because it's that scene at the end. Danielle Panabaker, I think that's how Danielle. Anyway, that basically she gets fucking sacrificed at the end of the movie, and
did not see that coming.
Right? No, you didn't. I thought her and Whitney, is that her name? I can't remember her sister's name. Yeah, I thought they were all going to survive. I was like, man, this is kind of different for a Friday the 13th movie,
Yeah.
And then that happened. Like, oh shit, okay, because early on you feel like she's the final girl of this movie. Nope, not at all. which was cool, and I liked the end. We thought Jason was dead. Nope. Very good stuff, man. I like this one.
Hey man, I'll be right back. Like 2 seconds.
What am I supposed to do while you go piss?
Just keep talking. You're on a
Talking
roll.
about what? All right. Anyway,
Engage
go
with
ahead,
viewers.
go do your thing. I hope it's just not a shit, because that'll take 10, 15 minutes, and I can't vamp for 10 or 15 minutes. So yeah, that's my 17. That's his 18. So we got these pretty close together. Actually, looking at both the lists, we got a few of them that are kind of very close together. Like Friday the 13th, The New Blood is very close together. I don't think he's going to like my placement of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, though, because that's his favorite Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, I don't think he's dropping two. I'm just joking. But yeah, his favorite Friday the 13th movie. See, that's the thing. Like, going into this, I know Seth's favorites, although he doesn't have it ranked quite as high as I thought he would. But in knowing who Seth is a big Elm Street fan, and that's my love, is Elm Street. Like, let me ask anybody who's watching right now, comment in the comments. Let me know which of the three series is your favorite. Like, mine is absolutely Elm Street, and I think his might be Elm Street too, but I think it's Halloween based on his top five. Well, actually, based on my top five, it looks like Halloween, but no, Elm Street is my first love. As I've seen, or as I've said 1,000 times, I saw Elm Street 2 first as my very first horror movie. I had a feeling yours was going to be Halloween, Luke. And that's just what set it off for me, was Freddy. That glove was so cool. The burned face, his, like I mentioned earlier, his silhouette was so fucking badass. And Friday the 13th, and there's no wrong answer here, Halloween, yeah. Because in my opinion, they're all great. I do think some of the sequels for Halloween are lesser than some of the sequels to Elm Street. I think Elm Street has a stronger series overall. But again, I'm biased because I love Elm Street. But yeah, I saw two because my mom was like, I saw the first one and I want to see this one. And you use a private chat more than anybody else, by the way, because I didn't see it till just now. How was it?
Really good. I feel like I could take on the whole empire myself.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I was explaining. I asked them what they like the best. Your buddy Josh says his favorite of the series, of this all three series, is Friday. Luke says Halloween. Yeah. Virginia says Halloween. So, and there's no wrong answer here. I said I think yours is Halloween of the three. But I like, based on your top five, it looks like it would be Halloween. But then I looked at mine and I'm like, it could go either way on mine. So anyway, let's get back to the countdown here. What number are we on? We just did my 17 and your 18. So let's hit your 17 up, which is Friday the 13th, 7.
Yep.
The New Blood.
New Blood. I really
underrated in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of hate on this one.
Surprisingly so. I'm not big into the whole telekinesis thing, but Jason looks badass. His whole design is great.
At this point, why not? I mean, he's come back to life. It's supernatural series at this point,
Yeah. Like I'm not even a big Kane Hodder fan.
He's like, not regular Jason.
I love his, passion and enthusiasm for the character and the fans and all that, but
yeah.
He's never been my favorite Jason. I feel like he's always been.
CJ's mine. CJ Graham's my favorite.
Yeah, but
like yours.
Yeah, but he looked really good in the movie. I really liked the score for the movie. It's just a lot of fun. I think Dr. Cruz is a great secondary villain.
Bad News Cruz.
Yeah, I forget what the name of that. What's the name of that bitch in the movie?
Melissa. She's one of the best characters in the whole fucking series, in my opinion.
Most satisfying death.
Oh my god! No, you're not wrong. She's got one, and it's not like a flashy, like smashing somebody's liquid nitrogen covered head, and no, it's she's like doesn't believe Nick and Tina, and she's like, "Fuck you, no, fuck you both." Opens the door, axe in the fucking skull, and then gets tossed across the
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
room and behind the TV. I fucking love that. She gets exactly what she deserves, and I love the character too, because she's such a fucking bitch, you know. And
Yeah.
she gets what she deserves, you know. And I love like that's why I like Charles and Eight because he's such a dick and he gets what he deserves, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, and he gets, you know, it's funny about Charles going back to that, and I know I really shouldn't, but it's funny because he gets dunked in that barrel and drowned basically, you know, and it's like first of all, Rennie was gonna he almost let her drown when she was little, and second of all, it's like Jason's like giving him a fucking swirly, you know, like dunking his head in the toilet. That's the way I always thought of it anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Kane Hodder looked amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
This is like one of the best looks for Jason of all time. I think it might be. There's an article I did on the horrorsyndicate.com, which I rank the top 10 looks for Jason, and I believe this is my favorite. Anything else you want to say? This is my number 15, so it's not too far off from yours.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. I think it's the last really good Friday the 13th movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't love everything about it, of course. Like I said, I don't like the telekinesis stuff, but
And the ending was kind of a letdown too.
yeah,
He
but
was dragging
I
the way.
mean, and it's a shame that, you know, a lot of the stuff that they were going to include in this, as far as the gore, was not allowed in. But I always enjoy watching it. I put it in quite a bit. So
Yeah, it's fun. It's Keith's favorite.
yeah.
Give me a second. I'm texting him back. Yeah, it's fun. It's one of those ones when I was younger. It was one of my favorites for sure. You know, it was a lot of fun, a lot of kills, a lot of good kills. The one thing that it's lacking though is there's a lot of off-screen kills or implied kills. You know, that's of course because of the studio being dick, or the not the studio, but well, partially the studio. Coming in at number 16 for you, and we just okay, no, number 16 for you, and I'm kind of disappointed that this is where it is on your list. But it's a new beginning, Friday the 13th 5.
I mean, I love this movie. I you know, it's I don't know. It's hard to say. I love this movie. I quote it all the time. You know?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. If that's the way you feel about it. It's not really quoting the movie. You quote Joey. You know, that's fine. That's fine with me.
You big dildo, eat your slop.
You know what? I just put something together. What if, now to stay with me here, what if Roy Burns, who I love, had an affair with Joey B, and Joey was the offspring? Joey B from, you know, part, or Jason Takes Man, or whatever. Jason Goes to Hell. What if that's their love child? I mean, he's got the chocolate on the side of his mouth, you know.
Stupendous idea.
Yes. I'm with you. This movie is the Halloween 3 of the Friday the 13th series. It got shit on so much, especially after it was released, because Jason wasn't in it. It was, you know, fake Jason, imposter Jason, you know. But
the fact that did not really matter.
No. Well, this one goes back to the roots of the first movie, but does it better, in my opinion.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and so like, I it's kind of the same thing, you know. Parent loses child, you know, and the reveal of Roy, that's one of the weaker spots though, because it's like, who the fuck is this? Like that's what I thought when I first saw him. Like, who is this? You know, and I like that they changed the chevrons on the mask. His outfit was more like Michael Myers, you know, just the blue jumpsuit. I don't know. I love this movie, and I love the characters of this movie. This one is higher on my list, so we'll get to it. But yeah, I'm glad this is finally starting to kind of pick up steam in the horror community. Just like, that's why I say it's like Halloween 3. hated for so long, but now it's finally getting its due. You know.
Yeah. And this is a point where on my list too, it's like where I kind of felt bad about how I placed certain ones because I'm like, does this really reflect how I feel about the movie itself?
Yeah.
Because I strongly love this movie, but I have it at number 16, which doesn't
Yeah.
make it seem like I do enjoy the movie. But yeah, I mean the characters are great. You know, Tommy Jarvis is badass in the movie, man.
Oh my god, that scene, it kills me when they're at breakfast and the
Yeah,
guy's wearing his mask and he's like, "Don't worry, cheese." Punch him in the shoulder and he just fucking flips him. It's like, fuck yes, you know,
yeah,
like
and he's fast too.
yeah, oh yeah, he's fast. I mean, I would love to see him come back and do another, but I mean, I love Tom Matthews. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah,
John Shepard would have been great to see come back in another movie and be the killer like
Yeah.
he could have been. And this is what Halloween ends. What bothered me was they set Tommy up to be the killer for 6, but then they, in Halloween Ends, they were setting what's his name up. Anyway, yeah, man, this is a fun fucking movie. We first of all, I love boobs, all shapes and sizes, but we get to see the biggest of the series and the smallest. So just throw that out there. And by the way, that little nugget comes straight from my son. So, and he's 13. So anyway, does Keith know we're live?
Probably not. Another thing too is I love the score for the movie too.
Yeah,
it's really strong.
Yeah, I mean, the first 7 movies have a really strong score.
Oh yeah.
So, but this also has that great song where Violet's dancing. I can like the man. There's a man with no life in his eyes. I can't remember the name of the song, but it's a fucking cool song. It's one that I now listen to quite often. And Helena likes to dance to it, my daughter. There was a man so cold, no life was in his eyes. And Roy Burns is just as inventive with kills as Jason. He sticks a fucking road flare in one guy's mouth.
Yeah, that guy deserved it though.
Yeah, oh yeah. My number 16 is Halloween 2018. And another one that's rising on my list a little bit. I like a lot. What's funny is like I had the urge to watch this today, like really bad, but I ended up watching Dawn of the Dead, a better movie. But like I was thinking about, it's growing on me because number one, it absolutely feels like a Halloween movie. Number two, it doesn't quite focus on Laurie like I thought before. And I like some of the characters, but the end is very, very good in this movie. Oh, I remember why. I was watching that Weird Al movie, and the guy who plays Weird Al's dad plays Ray.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh god, I want to watch Halloween now. 2018. It really bugs me that this movie's not called Halloween Returns. But yeah, overall, it's growing on me quite a bit. And coupled with Halloween Kills, if you watch them together, it's actually fucking great. Halloween Ends kind of ruins it still for me. But yeah, Halloween 2018 is growing on my list, and I have it at 16. And you have it in a different spot, so we'll get to you. And we just talked about Halloween. Friday the 13th Part 7. That's my number 15. You know why I like it. I like it. I do like the telekinesis, and I love the scene where his mask. She breaks the mask.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah,
great reveal for one of the grossest looking Jason. Well, no, I think Part 8's Jason's the grossest. I don't know who came up with that makeup design, but it was terrible for his maskless face. So we'll kind of go ahead and skip over my 15 because we already kind of talked about it. But your 15 is The Curse of Michael Myers.
Yes. I've always really loved this movie. It's very flawed, for sure.
Extremely flawed.
I like both cuts of the movie, but I don't think either cut are perfect.
I was getting ready to ask you that actually. Which do you prefer? Yeah, I'm the same way.
I like the first. I'd say I like the first 2/3 of the producer's cut better. Yeah. But I like the third act of the theatrical cut better.
Producer's cut score is so much better.
Yeah. I like George P. Wilbur as Michael in this one.
He was better than 4 in my opinion.
Definitely, he finally, he was like he didn't look as bad. And like the mask in this movie is one of my favorite masks in the series. It's probably my third favorite behind 78 and the new timeline.
Which version of the new timeline? Because there are distinct differences in all three of them.
Well, slightly. I mean, it's the same mask, but it just keeps getting more damaged throughout. But
so you count it as one mask. I appreciate that because I do too.
Yeah, but like I really like the mask in Curse of Michael Myers. I like the atmosphere. I like the characters too. I like Kara Strode. I like
I like Nate. I couldn't remember her name. The girlfriend or whatever. Yeah.
I like Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle, which not a lot of people do. Some people do, some people don't. I don't know.
I prefer his Tommy Doyle to Anthony Michael Hall's, but I actually do like Anthony Michael Hall's. It just didn't deliver what I wanted from it. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's the weird thing too. Is like Paul Rudd's Tommy Doyle took action and did something and was kind of meaningful in the end. But I really enjoy this movie. I watch it quite a bit. I have a lot of fun with it. I love it. I love Curse of Michael Myers.
I do too. I love The Curse of Michael Myers. It's later on my list, and just for the record, it's my second favorite mask after the first mask. And of course, the second mask from Halloween 2 is the same mask.
Same mask, yeah.
It looks different because of fucking Dick Warlock's fat head.
Right.
And I have a theory that's not his head, it's his hair. You ever see his hair? It's like a perfectly shaped helmet that he fits on his head. I think it's his hair. But no, and plus Nick Castle has a big nose apparently.
Yeah, so basically it's the same mask but look different on Dick's head.
Yeah, the dad looks like the dad. I hated that fucking asshole. Another guy who got what he deserved. So your number 14 is Halloween Kills, which I already discussed why I liked it. So go ahead and throw that out there because my 14 is controversial.
Yeah, Halloween Kills is a movie that I like, and unlike you, for me, it kind of gets worse upon each rewatch.
Which is funny because we were on opposite spectrums when it was released.
I know.
We were you almost quit the Horror Syndicate over it. Remember?
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't, by the way. We have too much fun talking, so I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, it was just, it wasn't just about the movie in general, it was just the conversation. But
it got heated. It got heated.
Yeah. But I love the flashback scene. That's my favorite moment of the movie.
Yeah, me too. Oh my god, I forgot to mention that. How fucking beautiful was that?
Yeah. It's like every time I watch the movie, I'm just like, I'm so taken in with it. And then when it gets to the present day, I'm like, no, I don't want to be here anymore.
Then we've discussed this, but like one of the things about that is it's like Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man movie that they released. It's like, I don't give a shit about everything else that's happening. I want to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. It's like in Halloween Kills, I don't give a shit about whatever else is happening. I want to go back to 1978 and see, what's going on there. Because even the stuff with Lonnie was cool,
Yeah.
Because I actually like Lonnie in this movie.
Which
I didn't think I would, but.
Yeah, it's just, it didn't have the greatest script. I don't think Scott Teems is a very good writer. He also wrote the Firestarter movie that came out this year.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Worst horror movie of the year so far.
Yeah, it's bottom of my list.
Yeah, me too. Nate's too, I believe.
Yeah. But the thing is with this one too is like I was like kind of prepared going into it because I read the script like a year beforehand. So I knew about some of the repetitive dialogue. I kind of came to
Evil
terms
Dies
with
Tonight.
it.
Your famous sign off of the end of the discourse shows.
That's right. But I like James Jude Courtney as Michael. I think he's great as Michael.
I think he is the definitive Michael Myers. I know Nick Castle deserves a lot of respect for what he created, but James Jude Courtney got to do it 3 times, and like the scene in Kills where he's just like using every knife. Like I love that fucking scene so much now. Like before I was like, come on, that's just too much. But now I'm watching, I'm like, he's really grown to be Michael Myers. And if Nick Castle had more opportunity, you know, and I respect it completely, but I don't know. James U. Courtney's so good as Michael.
Yeah, definitely. And one last point is the score. The score from John,
This
Cody, and Daniel.
this series was expertly scored, completely from top to bottom.
Exactly, and I feel like that's something that's like could be objectively said. Like, even if you hate these movies, you at least got to admit that the scores are great.
They're tight, and I don't know if you noticed, but the actual main Halloween theme changes in each movie. It kind of sets up the tone of the movie in a way.
Yeah.
Which I like. But I put something on the Horror Syndicate on Halloween on the website, thehorrorsyndicate.com, trying to get people to go there. How the Halloween theme has changed over the last 44 years. And, you know, I listened to every single one of them, even Halloween 3, which is nothing like the other ones, but I love it. The opening theme for that is so good. But, like, you know, it's changed so much. And that's when I noticed that Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, it's all a little bit different. And it kind of works for what it's setting up in those movies, which is fucking Carpenter is just brilliant, being plain and simple, you know?
Yep.
So, I like this series for the most part. It's still not my favorite timeline. You know, it's obviously anything with Loomis beats anything else.
Oh, so. For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, my number 14, if you're ready for it. Do you remember what my number 14 is?
I don't remember.
It's Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
What?
Yeah.
I hereby quit the Horror Syndicate.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I like
bullshit. Go on.
I like this movie. Okay, I do, but there's times that it just feels so fucking boring. They're like, you know, I like the characters. I like Jason looks awesome, and your boy Ted White, who just passed away. You know, we love Ted White. He's awesome as Jason, and there's some great scenes, very iconic scenes, but there's parts where the movie drags, and I don't think I like Joseph Zito as a director because his other movie that got him hired for this, The Prowler, is so fucking boring, and this movie is a lot like The Prowler in many ways, but there are things I like about it. I like, you know, I like the character Rob, but again, his story doesn't make sense because this takes place right after 3. So he's looking for his sister Sandra, who was in 2, and this is like 2 days later. So that that continuity does a lot for me, and they fucked that up. But I love Tommy Jarvis. I love Trish. You know, there's a lot to love. I love Judy Aronson. She's so hot. And then you know, I like the end. It's got one of the best endings of. You know what? I'm gonna just throw this out there. It has the best ending of any Friday the 13th movie. You know, the fight between Trish, the chasing of Trish, the Rob in the basement. He's killing me. I love that. But like, I like when Trish is just banging the hammer on the mask. You know, and the scene that one of the things I really do like about that the end is the best part of the whole movie in my opinion, because the rest of it's kind of blah 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 whatever. But like when he's like peeking in the doorway and Trish has the machete and she turns around and tries to hit him and it just gets caught in the door. You know, it's good stuff. There is some fun stuff. Most of it's at the end. I like that Tommy takes he shaves his head to play Jason, and then they get the mask off. They fucking like the machete gets stuck in the side of his head and he just slides down the machete. How fucking awesome is that scene? You know, and then Trish hits the machete in his hand and his hand's split. You know, it's just there's a lot. The end is the best part of the fucking movie. The rest of the movie is just whatever for me, and that's why that the rest of the movie, the first 2/3 are kind of, and that's why it's ranked so low for me. But the end is the fucking end is the best ending of a Friday the 13th movie.
Well, if that's the way you feel about it, forget it. Just forget it. But I think you're way
Leave me alone. Yeah. I am out of line because part 5 is way higher on my list. So,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
oh.
it's well not way higher, but part 5 has just really become a favorite
You,
of mine and a go-to.
you,
You know,
that means your Friday ranking has changed quite a bit, if I
it
remember
has.
correctly.
Well, the thing is, like, it's gotten to a point to where like some of these I like if I have a go-to movie, that's going to rank higher on my list. And lately five's been a go-to for me for Friday the 13th. It's fun and wild and silly and stupid. And I really like Roy Burns, the whole idea that somebody's, you know, basically framing Jason and using the Jason legend, you know, to do all this. It's I think it's kind of brilliant. Even Danny Steinman's direction was weird and very sleazy, but I had a lot of fun with that movie. And plus, it has a lot of likable characters. I haven't gotten to my part, so I probably should save this. But like Reggie the Reckless is great. I like Pam. I like the setting, you know, and not to mention the mom and Junior. You know, they're so much fucking fun. They're so stupid. You know, it's like, will you shut the fuck up? I mean, she hates him so much.
You
But
big dildo, eat your
big deal,
spot.
yeah. And she's chopping up the food. Hi, I just love Ethel. You know, it's just a fun movie. I have a lot of fun with it. But anyway, I do like Friday the 13th Part 4, and I've always had it as number 2. But the more I've seen 5 and the more I've seen Part 2, I like them. But Part 2, I used to not like, and it's because he had the fucking sack head. I hated it. I was like, it's not why he has a hockey mask, you know. But anyway, we'll get to my part where I have Part 2. Actually, let's do it. We have Part 2 in the same spot, number 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love it. It's grown on me so much over the years. I'm not a big fan of the beginning, Alice and Jason. You know, I don't like the beginning, but the rest of the movie, I like the setting again. I mean, it's the lake, okay? That's always the setting, but like the setting is a camp counselor, like training seminar type thing. And there's so many of them there, but and there's some standouts, you know, like Sandra and obviously Jenny, the final girl, and Paul and I can't remember all of their names, but the guy who's gets tied up in the tree and gets his throat. We get to see Ralph again. One of the top 5 iconic kills in the series is in this movie. Also, the butcher cleaver to the face of the guy in the wheelchair, and him. That's something that stuck with me after seeing that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Friday the 13th Part 2 is the one that kind of made me a fan of the series. I've always said this, is that Steve Miner and Ron Kearns, what they did was they took what Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham did, but did it better.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I think it's a better horror movie. The suspense is better.
Yep.
Characters
are better too.
Characters are a lot better.
Way better, yeah.
And that's the big thing here, is that the characters have a lot more personality. They're a lot more memorable.
Yeah.
The reason why this is my number 13, and I think the big reason why this is my third favorite Friday the 13th movie, is because of the opening, like 10-15 minutes or whatever. I hate that shit. The whole thing with Alice.
Yeah.
I just wish it didn't exist in the movie, because it took away from the rest of the movie. I've always felt like Friday the 13th Part 2 is, technically speaking, I always felt it was like the scariest out of all of them. There's that I remember when I first watched the movie, of course, on VHS, there's that part where Paul and Jenny are back at the camp, and she's like, "Paul, there's someone in the room. There's someone in the fucking room."
Yeah, yeah.
He's like hiding in the shadows, and of course, with the VHS, you couldn't really see him very well. And I felt like that was kind of a scary moment. And
it was. I mean, you didn't expect that. You get inside this cabin, you think you have a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
And then Jenny realizes. But the best part about that is there's a lot with Jason. He's not seasoned in this one. I like that about him.
Same here.
he kind of gets his ass kicked a little bit in certain scenes. He fucking breaks a chair, you know, like and Jenny hits him in the neck with that machete, and he's got the machete in his shoulder. It's just there's a lot about Jason I like in this one versus the other ones, and he's not the Jason we get from 3 on. It's so I always had a theory that maybe is Elias, his dad, you know, living out in the sticks, and he's been there for so many years, but it's not obviously Jason. I had just a theory I had.
I just always took it as like there was like a natural progression with the character. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Like you said, he was unseasoned when he was in, you know, in part 2, but as he did the events of part 2, he knew what to do and what not to do, and he improved for part 3. And it just like,
yeah, but the thing that again, becoming a seasoned, well, you know, trained, sophisticated horror. You know, they're a day apart, not even 24 hours apart, and I know it's the choice of changing the actors and stuff, all that stuff, but like all of a sudden he's this hard ass that is perfect at everything. It's hard to at this point suspend my disbelief. That's why I don't like 3 as much, because they took what they did in 2 and kind of shit on it with Jason, you know. And so yeah, I like 2 a lot. 2 is really good. I think it's a little underrated in the community.
it totally is.
Yeah.
And one last thing I want to say on it is that I think Ginny is, personally, she's my favorite final girl of the franchise.
The best one. Yeah. And I'm gonna add the one last thing also. I got to meet her, and oh my god, it was awesome. She was so fucking cool. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her. One of my favorite experiences meeting celebrities has been her, Lisa Wilcox, and Heather Langenkamp, and Bill Moseley. But he's not in any of these. No, well, I take that back. He's in Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's in one of the cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, on to number 12, and interestingly enough, we have these flip-flopped on our lists for Elm Street movies. So you have Freddy's Revenge for your number 12, and underrated, straight up.
Totally underrated. And I've always loved this one a lot because of Freddy. I love Jesse as a character, and Mark Patton, I think, gives a fantastic performance.
He's great. Yeah, I love Mark Patton. Even more so after we get to talk to him.
Yeah. The score from Christopher Young is just amazing.
It's an extension, in my opinion, from the first movie.
Yeah.
You know, where they do different things in the third and fourth. Anyway, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I've always loved the pool party scene.
Mm-hmm. That's a scene that gets shit on a lot. It's not a character for Freddy to be out in the real. It's like they didn't know what they were doing in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was things even in the first one that if you're going to go by that, then you can criticize the first one a lot.
He's possessing Jesse, first of all. So it's technically not Freddy. It's like Jesse, you know, in a Freddy suit almost, you know.
Yeah.
But that's got one of the most iconic parts of the whole series in that scene. You are all my children now. Who doesn't like that? You know?
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite parts of it. And this was the first one I ever saw. And so that stuck with me forever, you know.
And I love, you know, it's okay. I just want to help. Help yourself, fucker.
Help yourself, fucker. Yeah.
The only reason why this place is at this spot for me is because of the ending. I didn't care for, you know, Freddy's defeated by love.
Love conquers all, bro.
Yeah. It just similar. But again, I mean, since number 18, these are all movies that I love.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love Elm Street 2. I watch it quite a bit.
The ending, yeah, me too, actually. This is the only out of all of these that I can watch before I go to bed. Like, I don't have a problem watching horror movies before I go to bed, or it doesn't give me fucked up dreams or anything like that. But this is one that I could put on and just, I love it. I love Clu Gulager in this movie. I love Kim Myers. You know, these were this is my introductory movie into horror. So yeah, and I'll get more to the Love Fest when I get to my spot for this one. Anything else you want to say before I get to my 12?
No, just want to point out it's number 12, but I fucking love and adore this movie, and I
Because
watch it a lot.
we can do another tag team here because my number 12 is your number 11, which is Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Ah, yep.
Yeah. So it's not too far off for us. I love this movie. It's different. Wes Craven was super ballsy making this one, and it Wes Craven had some shitty movies in the '80s. I'm just going to come out and say it. Deadly Friend is terrible, and I hate Shocker. I can't help it. I do not like Shocker. But like, he hadn't done much since Elm Street until we get to People Under the Stairs, and then we get this and the disappointment of Freddy's Dead. You get this great movie with a great performance from Heather Langenkamp. Robert's barely in the movie, but when you see him as Robert Englund, he's great. I love seeing him as Robert Englund, by the way. That's one of my favorite things about this movie. And then you get to see the manifestation of evil that is Freddy Krueger in this movie, which is a lot of fun. But my favorite part of this movie is when Heather goes to talk to Wes. I fucking adore that scene because I love Wes Craven overall. He's one of my favorite people ever because I could listen to him talk for hours, and him having a chance to act and he's basically speaking the script as it's being written. It's so fucking cool. Go ahead.
My turn?
Yeah, it's your sorry.
Yeah. Wes Craven's New Nightmare actually was a movie that for a long time it was like probably I would have considered it my favorite sequel, even above another one that I'm not going to mention right yet. But it has kind of dropped down a little bit for me on the list, but I always thought it was clever. I really like when I first watched it, especially when I first watched it, it was after seeing Scream. So even though this movie was made before Scream, obviously it predates that with the whole meta thing. But because of Scream, I really liked the meta aspect of it. I liked the idea of this demon that kind of took on the form of Freddy, but wasn't really Freddy, and going after the people like involved with the making of the movie. And yeah, I still really enjoy watching this movie, though I find myself recently not going to it as much as I used to.
Same here. I haven't even watched it this year.
Yeah. But it's a great movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's one of those that you can watch separate from the series. Like I used to watch the Elm Street movies every Sunday almost. Like it was this is how it was in my house. My mom worked Sunday nights. She was, bartender, and then she was like a nurse. So on Sunday night she'd bartend. So it was me, my brother, my sister, and one Sunday it'd be all Freddy movies. One Sunday it'd be Halloween movies. One Sunday it'd be Friday the 13th movies because I had them all on VHS. But I would never watch this one because it's really detached from the series because it's its own thing. But I do love it.
Yeah.
And that's your number 11, and that's my number 12. So my number 11, if you're ready to move on, is Friday the 13th, Part 5. I love it. It's silly. It's goofy. It's fun. It's different. I love it. So I just and I don't hate the movie that follows it, but it's like you get that end with Tommy wearing the mask. It's like, that's so cool. So it's a lot of fun. I already talked about it a lot, so we'll just go ahead and move on to your number 10.
My number 10 is Halloween 2018.
This is going to make Luke happy.
Yeah. I think it is the best of the new trilogy.
It is, yeah.
I think it's well directed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, it does kind of fall apart within the third act. I think the film is really good in up until Vicky dies. I think that's where the film peaks. The score is great. James Hugh Courtney is great. The mask is great. I appreciated this one after seeing Rob Zombie's films. I appreciated the attempt to go back to Carpenter's original intent.
My exact words were Halloween is back after seeing this.
Yeah, yeah. It's a movie I still can. I've seen it so many times. I've thrown it in so many times. I really enjoy it. You know, obviously this new timeline isn't my favorite timeline because it doesn't have Loomis, but
Right.
I enjoy it for what it is, and I can rewatch it, and I do rewatch it quite a bit, and I think it's got more positives to it than negatives, and yeah.
You know what my biggest negative of this movie is the Mano Lantern face. It's like, why did he take that much time to do that?
The what
You know,
face?
the when he cuts the guy's face into like a jack o' lantern.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why did he do that? You know,
yeah.
and
I mean, it
like,
was a cool
yeah, it
effect.
was a cool effect that we had just seen in Terrifier actually 2 years prior. You
Oh well,
know,
I haven't seen Terrifier, so
oh, it's in Terrifier, which came out 2 years before. I'm sure David
yeah.
Gordon Green's and then what's his name, Danny whatever. Like, oh, Terrifier did it, so we can do it. Um, but anyway, that's one of my biggest gripes about whatever. I like Ray quite a bit actually. I was some of the deaths in these movies kind of Karen and Ray. I liked a lot of these characters. Virginia has a lot to say here. Uh, oh, she's quoting Lori. Just gonna leave that on the screen for a minute, and then we'll get to my number 10 because we're in the top tens now, people. Top tens. Thanks for anybody who's stuck with us tonight. It's a late one for us and a long one. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I like Ray. My number 10 is Curse of Michael Myers, and we talked about it. A couple things I like about it. The score and the producer's cut is more Halloween. It's got the more Halloween feel. The producer's cut does feel more, but the end is better. And the other one, I've said I'd like to see somebody put the cuts together and kind of make some kind of sense out of it. The end of both of them aren't very good, but Paul Rudd's character's fun. Tommy Doyle. I do like Kara Strode. I don't like her brother. I don't like Barry. Um, I like that Tommy who's so fucked up by everything that happened that he lives across the street like he's watching the Myers house. You know, he's like the steward or something like that. It, the cult of Thorn stuff is kind of shitty, but the last thing I'll say before I pop off to your number 9, which is it's appalling to me. Um,
Revenge, motherfucker.
Donald Pleasance in his final appearance in Halloween, he was great. It made up for Halloween 5, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love it. I actually have the one sheet. That's the only Halloween one sheet I have is part 6's. I saw it in a private showing before it was released to anybody else at a theater because my mom's best friend he ran the theater. It was an old school theater, had a balcony, and I sat there ate this big ass tub of popcorn. I had a Dr Pepper. I fucking loved it. It was awesome. Just loved it. My first actually, it was also my first Halloween theatrical experience too. So, so you're number 9.
It's justified, okay, because I'm looking at my list here, right? And I can't see where this is better than any of them, especially my number 7 pick, by the way.
I looking at your list, other than the number 7 pick, because mine's different, but like I can see where you're coming from because I love this movie very much, and it's my favorite of that series because we're kind of teasing here, but no, I can see because a lot of yours would that makes sense. Go ahead, go ahead.
So let me just put it like this. Yes, it's at number 9. I fucking hands down have always loved Jason Lives Friday 13th Part 6. This was the first Friday 13th movie I saw in full.
Me too.
Because actually, that same night that I went over, remember when we talked about part 3? I said how I saw the second half of part 3 when I went over to a friend's house after work when I was younger. We went over. He lived right next to a video store, so we walked over to the video store and rented this one at his recommendation. And Jason Lives is so much fucking fun. It's like one of those movies I can put on anytime. I could probably put it on every day of the week and not get old, and it will never get old for me. It's just a fun movie from start to finish. I love Tom McLaughlin's writing and direction, and it's just a fun movie from start to finish. Great characters, great humor. Surprisingly, it's weird to think that someone did something actually different with the Friday 13th movies, and it totally worked for the majority of the fan base. I mean, this is a fan favorite movie, and the humor, the lack of nudity, the lack of like extreme gore doesn't seem to bother anyone. Again, fun movie from start to finish. Throw this on all the time, can watch it anytime. It's a party movie. It's a great movie if you want to have some friends over, drink some beer, put it on. It's always a fun time. I love it. Jason Lives. Unfortunately, it's number 9 on my list, but it's in good company.
I'll give you a pass on this one. But I forgot to mention something. You said party movie, and right away my brain went to Return of the Living Dead. And I forgot to mention Demon in part 5.
Yeah.
Fucking another great character. Yeah, I love part 6. We'll get to my thoughts shortly, but my number 9 is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, the very first horror movie I ever saw. And I've already said plenty about it, so we'll move on pretty fast. But I love Clu Gulager's dad as the dad. Jesse, Mark Patton was like one of my favorite like actors. He's an actor for a long time, and this was like the only thing I'd ever seen him in. But I loved him as Jesse, and I had a crush on Kim Myers. Growing up, I liked redheads like hard back when I was little, because I also had a crush on Molly Ringwald and a couple other redheads. Anyway, Rennie from part 8, she's kind of a redhead. I had a crush on her too. Anyway, but I love this movie. It's one that I can watch anytime. I forgive it for any problems for it not being like the other movies, because this was the second movie. They didn't have a rule book. Like people say, it strays from the rules. Well, they didn't have a fucking rule book. And it is kind of like a filler, because you can really skip this one if you want to watch the, I consider there's like a Nancy, Kristen, Alice, like it's almost like a trilogy. The first movie, the third movie, the fourth movie. You okay?
Puff pass.
Yeah. Puff give. And then anyway, so that's my number 9. I'm going to do my number 8 first, if you don't mind, and then we'll do your number 8. My number 8 is, and it's weird because these two can flip-flop. Your number 8 and my number 8 can flip-flop very often. But Halloween 2 from 1981, as much as John Carpenter hates it, I love it. It's a great extension to the first movie. I love the opening theme, how different it is. A little bit darker, a little bit more menacing sounding, and I do like that Laurie's pretty much sidelined, and we get to see more, what's going on. And this is Loomis's fucking movie, in my opinion. This is Loomis's movie, and it's fun. I just don't like that he can't pronounce Samhain the right way. But anyway, I love Halloween 2. It's great. I go back and forth. I don't consider 3 a sequel, because it is and it isn't. So I go back and forth between this and 4 as my favorite sequel. So, yeah, you've got it listed somewhere else, so you can gush about it in a second. But your number 8 is
Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers.
Yeah, which, I mean, like I said, you can go back and forth with these two for me. I love this movie. It's got one of the best. They abandoned the pumpkin intro for something almost better. in many ways. It sets the tone for the movie completely.
Yeah. It's a great sequel, to be honest with you. It really stands neck and neck with Halloween 2, which I didn't think would be possible. But I mean, aside from the mask and the shoulder pads on George P. Wilbur, the movie overall is great.
Yeah.
I this is my favorite Dr. Loomis, probably besides the first one. He's such a great character and a great presence in this movie, and the character of Rachel, I think, is a great supporting character. Brady is I like the character of Brady, even though he's a douchebag. Like his defining moment, where he kind of redeems himself. I think the atmosphere is really good in this movie. The score's good. And the ending is, I gotta say, it's probably my favorite ending. I mean, it's great. I love it.
Even though what happens to Ted Hollister?
Poor Ted Hollister. Shit, Earl.
Shit, Earl. Yeah, it's got a great ending. It really does, especially that moment when Jamie, she grabs the hand, and it almost feels like, and then they shoot him out, and then you get back, you think everything's nice and the girls are safe. Nope. And Donald Pleasance plays that scene so fucking well. He's about to fucking shoot this girl. If it wasn't for Meeker, she'd be dead. And it just that last frame you see of Jamie holding the fucking scissors is it gives me the feels a little bit, Halloween 4 is great.
And that's another thing too, is Sheriff Meeker. I really like that character as well.
I do too.
100% prefer him over Brackett.
Yeah, he's way different than Brackett also.
Yeah.
Which I liked. Because there's a lot of people who say, well, Halloween 4 is just Halloween all over again. Well, not really. There's a lot different with this one versus the first movie. So
yeah.
And plus, and Ellie Cornell, I mean, Rachel is a great character. It's yeah. So my number, so your number 7 will be the last of the Friday the 13th for you.
Yep. My number 7 is the
my
best.
Number 14.
It's the best Friday the 13th movie. All right. Period. Don't want to hear
it. If you say so.
I've always flip-flop between 4 and 6.
You've been staunch on this for about 2 years, though.
Yeah. I mean, how long have I known you for?
About 4 years, I think.
Okay. So I think you probably... No, I was going to say it's your fault, but...
No, when we're not friends and one day, like, oh, by the way, Jason Lives is better than... You're going to tell me, like, just this...
Yeah. No, I mean, because, like I said, with Jason Lives, like, it's a super fun movie. But I think the reason why I kind of lean more towards Final Chapter is because I think, to me, I don't get bored with it, and I feel like it's a better horror movie than Jason Lives is. And Ted White is my favorite Jason, period. Like, no one comes close. I really dig the atmosphere and the look of it. I think some of the kills are brutal, like the harpoon gun to the dick. I mean, savage. I liked how they it kind of felt like this big epic culmination of the first 3 movies, and it felt more professionally done behind the camera than the first 3 movies. And I have a lot of fun with it, man. This is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. And it's one of my favorite slasher movies, and I will watch it a lot. I think Jason's intimidating, and
that's Ted White right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that's Ted White.
Yeah. So
one thing I like about this movie is they got rid of that fucking hunchback he had in part 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the best things. But yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie for sure, and I get it. I do get it. It's definitely, there's a lot. The fan base is split almost down the middle. Jason Lives in final chapter. I just thought of a good episode for THS Discourse for next season. I don't know if Nate would want to do this, but we should do Friday the 13th Part 4 versus Jason Lives and kind of try to figure out which one is better of the two.
Well, no, what's perfect about that is that you and Nate are team Jason Lives,
Yep.
whereas
And
me and Jared are
Yep.
team Final Chapter.
Yeah, that's why it could be fun,
Yeah.
I think we should maybe look into doing that.
Yeah.
We could almost do that with which is the better sequel, Halloween 2 or Halloween 4, because again, you have Halloween 2 rated higher, and I know Nate's favorite sequel is the same as mine, which is Halloween 4. So anyway, we'll talk about future shows off air. Team Jason Lives, what up? But you're not wrong if you love the fourth movie too, because the fourth movie is rightfully, ranked one of the best two at least, if not the best.
Luke, I'm putting you up for adoption.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Too bad Alex isn't still here because they have this love affair going on and a bromance. So I'm curious if his is final chapter and if it would break the bromance up.
Ooh.
Anyway, so moving on, that was your number 7. My 7 is a little controversial. I feel like it's controversial because most people even say this is the best of the series. But Elm Street 3 is The Dream Warriors. I do like this movie, and there are things about it I just don't like as much as a couple of the other ones. And I like Patricia Arquette. I like the kills. I like the dream sequences. And this is like almost the best version of Freddy we ever got. But I don't know, there's something about it that just is like, nah, I'd rather watch Dream Master. And it's a good movie in its own right. And this is, jump in. This is your number 6. So we're on the same page here. It's a good movie. It's a good Freddy movie, and it does set the tone for the next one, for the most part. But there's something about it that just I can't say yes, this is the best sequel, or yes, this is the best Elm Street movie.
To be honest with you, I really don't have anything negative to say about this movie. I love Dream Warriors hands down, even though it's number 6. It's not my favorite Elm Street sequel. I love and appreciate this movie for being different and for sort of flipping the script on the first one, where first one was more of a personal movie, right? You had the 4 friends to begin with, but 3 of them were taken out fairly quickly-ish. It was more about Nancy, right? Yeah. So it was more of like a one-on-one, and you're setting up the mythology. And then with this one, it's a group of kids. It's the last of the Elm Street children, and it's now confined to a single location, as opposed to where the first one could have happened anywhere, really, in the town or wherever Nancy was. So I think it's a great sequel story-wise. I do wish it was a little darker, but I'm probably one of the very few people out there who wish they went with the original script,
the Wes Craven script.
Yeah. Because I think the fantasy stuff kind of lightened it up a little bit, lightened up the series a little bit. But again, I love this movie. I adore this movie. I watch it a lot. And I don't really have anything negative to say about it. It's just number 6 because the 5 before it, I like just the hair better.
Yeah, for me, I do like this movie quite a bit. This was my first theatrical Elm Street movie. I snuck in. I was supposed to be seeing like Crocodile Dundee or some shit, but I snuck in.
It's on the big screen.
Yeah, I saw it. I was 7 years old, I think. Well, I might have been 6 still, and we lived in this really small town, so it was no problem for me. But yeah, because the theater was right up the road from me. I barely could go in. It was on my own. I went to the theater by myself at 6. This was the 80s. But and I like this right away. I do love this movie. Oh my God, it's 420 here stuff. Anyway, it's got probably,
I don't know what you mean,
arguably the best poster in the series also. I mean, it's such a great poster.
Yeah.
I always talk about characters and needing to enjoy the characters and be invested in the characters. In this one, we get a slew of great characters, and they all get their moment to shine. Every
Oh yeah.
single. So I mean, there's a lot to like here, and Patricia Arquette's great. It's got a lot of great dream sequences. I love seeing the boiler room or whatever. That set is awesome. When
Yeah.
he reveals his chest. Yeah, there's a lot of great here, but I just like two of them better. That's why I get why people like this movie and why they love it, but it's not. It first, I can't get this any higher than this as far as Elm Street movies go, or any of these other the next few, because it's my number 7. You're number 6. But yeah, I mean, it's a legendary. The best part about, I think, with all the good in this movie is it adds to the legacy. It adds to the mythology of Freddy without taking anything away from the first 2 movies at all. You know what I'm saying?
It feels so natural.
Yeah, absolutely. It just adds to it, and I don't think Wes Craven has much to complain about with this movie versus some of the other sequels. I don't know if he ever saw it, but anyway, yeah. So that's my number 7. That's your number 6. My number 6 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. Years ago, 1990, I saw this for the first time. They were doing a Halloween marathon on some channel, and so I watched Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and the Halloween 3, and I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited for Michael Myers, and then I saw a commercial for the first movie on the movie. I'm like, what? It warped my little 10-year-old mind. But again, this is just a throwaway movie for me for a long time until the Horror Syndicate, because I watched it with fresh eyes after not watching it for like maybe more than a decade. And I saw the brilliance in this movie, and how I understood why the movie was made the way it was made, and it's got a fucking phenomenal score. It's got a great story, and I mean, and Tom Atkins is the lead. I know everybody makes jokes about how great Tom Atkins is, but like, he really is great. He's a great character actor. He's a great actor in this movie. And just I've grown to really kind of adore this movie, and it just keeps climbing my list every year. You've got it higher on your list, so you'll get to gush about it in a minute. But yep. I love Halloween 3, and 6 is a good spot for it for me, in my opinion.
No, it is a good spot.
So we're up to the top 5 now, and Seth, your number 5 is, I gotta let the dog in, so go ahead.
Okay, my number 5 is Halloween 2 from 1981.
I'm sorry, Rennie. Jesus. Let the dog out in the rain. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for sequels that kind of take place within the same, like immediately after, kind of like a continuing chapter, just telling one big story. And I feel like they did that with this. I feel like this one, you have Dean Cundy back as the cinematographer, so it looks and feels like 78, even though it's the more slasher version. And Dick Warlock looks a little weird. I think it's, there's something about the way he moves. I just, he's not my favorite Michael, but
no. There's one scene I like that Dick Warlock, but I don't think it's him. I think it's the director of photography. It's when he's walking down the stairs, and that's the only scene that I'm like, yeah.
But I love it. I mean, I just love this as a companion piece to the first film. I feel like anytime I watch, John Carpenter's original, I immediately follow up with part 2 right after.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Absolutely. And as much as we do like 2018, it's just, this one feels more like the sequel than 2018 does. And I'll always go to this first. And I honestly think, other than the omission of her being his sister, it could still be the fucking second movie. Like, I don't understand that at all. I know John Carpenter just hated it, but, like, fuck you, John Carpenter, for that. I take it back. I love John Carpenter. But yeah, I like Halloween 2 quite a bit. And you're 100% right. You watch Halloween, fuck, Halloween night. You know, we get home from trick or treating, and our what we do is we watch Halloween, the John Carpenter classic. But we're sitting there having a good time, enjoying Halloween, and Reynolds just looks at me. He's like, "Kind of want to watch Halloween too." And I'm looking at the time. I was like, "Your bedtime is in an hour. Helena's bedtime's now. Let's do it." So we watch Halloween too. You know.
Yeah.
So it's I love Halloween too. It's so good. Um, so but not my number five. Seeing, and we talked about this, where my number eight is so my number eight is Halloween 2. Your number eight is Halloween 4. Your number five is Halloween 2. My number five is Halloween 4. So I love Halloween 4 quite a bit. We did talk about it. I gushed a little bit about it already, but that from the opening, I love the when Michael comes. Like Jesus. Jesus ain't got anything to do with this place or whatever the guy said.
Yeah.
I love the thumb to the head. Like
Yeah.
Michael was just going to lay there dormant until they mentioned his fucking niece in Haddonfield, and it was over. So I love 4. It's got a great ending, like you said. It's got I think a great opening. Not even just the credits, but like you don't hear the theme until they're outside with taking him onto the bus, as Dr. Loomis says.
Yeah.
Plus, you get the good Reverend that picks up Dr. Loomis.
That's right, Reverend Sayer.
Reverend Sayer, he's like, "You're hunting, ain't you?" What are you?
Oh yes, I can see it on your face back there in the dirt.
Yeah. In here, old man. Yeah, I love that fucking scene. That's such a great scene. And of course,
the second time we've seen Dr. Loomis smile in the entire franchise.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, man, Halloween 4, fucking awesome. I know that Nate, that's his favorite sequel as well. I mentioned we were gonna do his list. We'll do that at the very end. We'll just go through his list real fast, just so he has a presence, because we love Nate. Yeah, Halloween is. I mean, from the credits to the open, it's so good. It's so well done. Danielle Harris is not annoying, and I think some people have said that. I don't think she's annoying. I love Ellie in the movie, and Loomis and Meg. It's just a great cast. And Jensen, Sasha Jensen he's like you said, he redeems himself. I love that when he was on the show, we asked him about the spitting part when he spit the blood out.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So my Halloween 4 is my number 5. Now Seth's number 4 is my number 6. So
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the movie I was told for many years growing up it sucked because it had nothing to do with Michael Myers. And when I finally watched it when I was a teenager, way back in the 1920s, I was like, what the fuck are people talking about? This movie's great. Like I was on board for the story. I mean, I could see why Carpenter went this way. Like it back then, slasher sequels were just barely becoming a thing. And so in his mind, he killed Michael Myers. And so next step is to do just a different story. And this story is just a lot of fun. I love watching this movie. I watch it a lot. It's one of my favorites. I love the score, the effects, especially like when what's her face got the fucking laser to her face.
Oh yeah. Marge, I think was her name.
Yeah, and then little Buddy, when they're doing the test run there.
Yeah,
great stuff. And the ending is one of my favorite endings. I just love it.
You don't know if you got all three.
Yeah, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is just a movie. I just love and adore so much. It's like not just like within these 3 franchises, but in horror in general. It's just a great horror movie.
Have you ever done a top 50 or top 100 list of all horror movies?
I think I have.
I'm gonna need you to update that.
It'll change. It changes all the time.
Well, I'm gonna have to relook at mine because I did a top 50 at the beginning of the year because I was gonna do a live streams of. I just decided not to do that. Instead of doing like top 10s per year or per decade and everything for the horrorsyndicate.com, which I actually like better. But Yeah, I'm curious to see your top 10. Like, I know you could do a top 10 easily, but I want to know where other movies rank because I like big ass lists. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, the button scene Luke mentions great. But yeah, I mean, one thing I didn't mention that I should have is how wonderful of a villain Connell Cochran is.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, man, he is
Yeah.
awesome. You know, I really love him. He's got this charisma about him, and he's also got this sinister side later on, like that scene where he's explaining his plan to Dr. Chalice, and he's like, "Happy Halloween," and you know, it's
Yeah.
like, God, I love his. And then that scene when he's like, kind of defeated. I don't know why I put the quotes up, but he's kind of defeated, and he just kind of claps at Chalice. You know, it's like, God damn, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
I just wish I would have appreciated it more, and I'm glad it's getting its due now. Like fans, it's no longer underrated. It's no longer as hated as it had been for decades. You know, we're 40 years from when it was released, and it's finally being celebrated how it deserves to be as a loved horror movie. If you can get past the fact that it's called Halloween 3 and there's no Michael Myers, it's a great fucking horror film. It's one of the best Halloween period films. Like as far as a Halloween taking place on Halloween film,
Yeah.
it's got to be one of the top five at least. You know, with Halloween '78 Carpenters, and then Night of the Demons is one for me. That's a great Halloween movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Season of the Witch finally getting its due. Are you ready for my number four?
How about you say your number four while I take off real quick?
I need your reaction though.
Okay.
So number four on my list is John Carpenter's Halloween.
Okay. I mean,
Go Anger P. And
it, that's not a bad spot for it, to be honest with you, considering what the three before it are.
yeah, I love I love Halloween. Go ahead and go do your thing. I'll vamp for a minute. I love Halloween. I adore this movie. It's one of those that I watch constantly, and I still do. I watch it multiple times per year, and Halloween is my least favorite of the three franchises. But that's not saying a lot because I love all three franchises. But no, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I love the score from the opening. Like when you see the is it Trancas International logo or whatever it is pop up, and then the theme starts, and you know it's great. And I love Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. There's a few scenes that I don't like when he's talking to Brackett twice, and it just seems like Brackett is feeding lines to Loomis. Like he's almost like he's not acting. And that like he's so stiff and he's like, what do we do now? And then Dr. Loomis goes into his little uh spiel or whatever and more fancy talk and all that. But yeah, some of this Brackett bothers me, but overall Halloween is a legendary horror film. It's probably the face of horror because and I've said this 100 times, like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people change their ringtones in October to the Halloween theme. And, you know, it's like, everybody knows who Superman is. Everybody knows who Spider-Man is. Well, everybody knows who Michael Myers is. I mean, they probably know Freddy. They probably know Jason, but I think Michael Myers is the one that everybody absolutely knows. And it's not just because there's new movies, but like there's a reason why this franchise is still around 44 years later. You know, Michael Myers, the shape is an enduring. Uh, he is the definition of the horror icon, in my opinion. I mean, sure, we had Norman Bates come before him, we had Leatherface come before him, Reagan come before him, but in my opinion, Michael Myers is in Halloween the face of horror, and he is the first ever horror icon. And then you got Jamie Lee Curtis, who is the first Scream Queen. So Halloween is one of those landmark movies, and it's only this is I love it, though it's only ranked at number four because my like I said go to movies and then my favorite horror movie. So I do love Halloween. I watch it probably 5 or 6 times a year too. So I know that movie inside and out. And my biggest question is why? So in the very beginning of the movie, Michael, we follow that Warner. It's in his perspective, and he comes downstairs. But at the beginning of the movie, you see there are no lights on in the top floor, and then all the lights are on when he comes out the door. What happened? Anyway, I was saying while you were gone, one of my biggest complaints about Halloween is Brackett as an actor. What's his name?
Charles Cyphers.
Charles Cyphers. Yeah. So like he's much better in The Fog, for instance. But like when he's talking to Donald Pleasance in the house and outside the house, right after he scares Lonnie, he just seems like he's feeding lines for Donald Pleasance to say. Like if he's so stiff and he's like, "What do we do next?" And then Dr. Loomis starts talking. It's like that's one thing that bothers me about it. But yeah, landmark movie. The face of horror is John Carpenter's Halloween, and then you get the horror icon Michael Myers, then probably the number one horror icon, even more than Dracula or the monster from Frankenstein. In my opinion, everybody loves Halloween. Everybody loves Michael Myers. He's like Superman, like I said. But anyway, that's my number 4. Your number 3 is?
My number 3 is Elm Street 4. This is a very special movie to me. So I love this movie. I watch it a lot. And it never gets old. I don't know exactly why this movie is so special to me, to be honest with you, but there's something about it. Every time I watch it, it just brings a smile on my face. I just really enjoy it. Visually, it's fantastic. I think Rennie Harlan brought a sort of energy to the series with his direction, and
they didn't want to hire him either.
What's that?
They didn't even want to hire him.
Yeah, I know. The kills are great and very creative. Debbie turning into the cockroach is spectacular. Obviously the script area failed a little bit because of the writer's strike. They weren't able to sort of hone it down, but for basically not having a completed shooting script, I mean, it's still it's a solid movie from beginning to end. They tied it together very, very well. Yeah, I know it's sort of, I guess, blasphemous for certain people, to hear that someone ranked Elm Street 4 over 3, but it's just always been my go-to in the franchise. I don't know. I just have it's where my heart is at.
You want to watch a Freddy movie? Pop in Dream Master. It's the most. It feels like it's the culmination of all the other movies in a way. Like you get a little bit of everything. You get some great kills. That cockroach scene is so cool. The scene in the theater is so cool. You get there's a lot of people who complain about killing off the surviving Dream Masters so fast to get to the other cast, and I partially see why they do that. They had to recast Kristen with Tuesday Night, and she was fine. I like it. I actually like Tuesday Night as Kristen, and I love her music. She's got a couple songs in the movie, but I don't know. And then they talk about those are the biggest complaints though, are the not killing off Joey and Kincaid. Some people complain about Jason pissing fire and bringing Freddy back. It's a nightmare. It's a dream. Come on.
Yeah.
Fucking shut up and grow up, man. And then replacing Kristen, that's pretty much out of the director's hands and Tuesday Night's hands. She did what she could, and I think she did great. Yeah. I almost prefer her as Kristen. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Oh, Luke has a lot to say. That and in '88, I was 8. And my wife was 12 when we went down to the theater. Oh yeah, I think I think I remember hearing that. Are you saying that before? That is a very cool story. Um, yeah, this was the one that I started like. So this is hot off of seeing Dream Warriors, and this is the first movie I ever started having like my own theories for. Everybody has theories for the next movie for different series. This was the first one for me. I had theories after seeing the first commercials and trailers for, and I love Vinnie Vincent's song "Love Kills" for this movie. Underrated song. But I'll talk a little bit more about Dream Master in a minute. My number three is Jason Lives, and I adore this movie. It is the Friday the 13th movie. This is the Friday the 13th movie in my opinion. Like it's I know. Okay, so I think there's a split in the fan base, and it's not just between Final Chapter and Jason Lives. I think it's between Zombie Jason and pre-Zombie Jason, because basically you have two kind of almost trilogies. In one trilogy, what is lesser than the other one, which is the later one, with 6, 7, and 8, because obviously 7 and 8 are lesser than 2 and 4. But I am not as I'm a bigger fan of Jason from part 2 and part 4 than I am of 6. But 6 gives you kids in the camp, but you don't get it's got a good mix of humor, and it's not overdone like a Marvel movie, and it's got a great cast. I mean, Tom Matthews is Tommy Jarvis is superb. I love Megan. Sheriff Garris is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, and he's got one of the most brutal fucking deaths of all time. Period. The dude gets fucking bent in half backwards.
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yeah.
And it's got like I like a lot of the characters. I like Sissy. I like Court. The deputy that I can never remember his name. That's in Never Hike in the Snow now. It's just there's so much. This is the entry level Friday the 13th, in my opinion, for anybody. You want to watch Friday the 13th movie? This is the one to show them. It's got just a little bit of everything. It's got some great characters. I love the chase scene in the cemetery. I love the caretaker in the cemetery, and it's the one you can show kids also.
Oh yeah, totally. This
Yeah.
was the first one I showed to my daughters. Yeah.
Me too. Well, no, Reynolds saw Jason X first on accident, but
Ooh, poor kid.
yeah, but he liked it enough he wanted to see more. So I popped in Jason Lives. He's like, "Well, that was better." I was like, "Yeah, I know." And it's like 33 times better. But like, yeah, I just Jason Lives is my favorite. If I'm watching a Friday the 13th, that's the first one I go to. Like the odd thing is, I generally don't watch it on Friday the 13th when there's a Friday the 13th, because I've already watched it for the year, and I generally on Friday the 13th I like to do the Jarvis trilogy, or not the Jarvis trilogy, the 2, 3, and 4 trilogy. So, but yeah, I fucking this is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. People give Kane Hodder too much credit for the way Jason moves. Watch CJ Graham. He does a lot of the same shit Kane Hodder does before Kane Hodder did it.
100%.
CJ Graham was fucking awesome as Jason. He does not get enough credit for Jason. He was awesome. He's my favorite, but so I can differentiate favorite and best. He is my favorite Jason. Ted White's the best. So anyway, I love it. I could talk for fucking days on Jason Lives. It's so much fun, and it's also the first one I ever saw. So now we're down to the top 2. So go ahead. No. I'm gonna do my number 2 first, because my number 1 is your number 2. So,
yeah,
and, I don't even want to think about Elm Street being a number 2. That's like taking a shit's a number 2. So anyway, oh, hold on. Luke said some stuff. He agrees with me. CJ does it better. I love Seth. Plus I love his makeup under the mask. You don't really get a good look at it, but it looks fucking cool. And Vince kind of recreated it for his Never Hike in the Snow, or Never Hike Alone. So anyway, my number two is Dream Master, and I got to talk about it a little bit. I love it. It's the Jason Lives of the series for me, where I can pop it in anytime I want. It's a comfort
Yeah.
movie. Anytime I get sick, I watch Dream Master. I fucking love it. I love the visuals. Rennie Harlan is underrated and an underrated director. The church scene at the end is so fucking cool. This is the
Yes.
showdown, man. This
Yes.
is a fucking showdown. You get
Yeah.
and Freddy, being Freddy, has the perfect line for when Alice walks through those doors. Welcome to Wonderland, Alice. Then that was in the trailer, and I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And Alice is his fucking. I mean, I love Nancy. Nancy's my hero forever. Like I love Nancy, but Alice is like his toughest adversary in the series. You know, she can match him really well, and she does. She holds him at bay really well. Obviously, she didn't die. Nancy did, but that was rough. I love Nancy, but you know, there's visually, this is the best looking Elm Street movie in my opinion. The set design, and I talk about set design a lot on the show, but the set design in this movie is fucking bonkers awesome.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm not just talking about the church at the end because that's I love that set. That set is so fucking. Actually, I got a picture of Freddy from the movie saved on here, but that set is so fucking cool. But like everything about it, the Crave Inn is really cool.
Mhm.
Time loop scene is really cool. Dan and Alice realizing they're in the dream, and I'm gonna punch his ticket in. You know, all that stuff is so fucking cool, man. And then the scene where Dan goes under, or you know, and there he's got that spinning thing they got to try to get through.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like Kristen transfers her powers to Alice, and she starts taking in. It's just such a fucking fun movie. I love it. I love it. Well, it ain't Dr. Seuss. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I can't.
I don't know how to do it. I've been
I'm,
drinking.
I'm 42. Uh, you're number two.
My number two is a
My
Nightmare.
number one.
Yep, Nightmare on Elm Street. One of the best horror movies ever made, hands down. I don't know what to say about it that hasn't already been said. I mean, it's just well crafted, original, and at the time, still is. I mean, it's a very unique series. And I
It
think,
changed horror, man.
what's that?
It fucking changed the game for
Yeah,
horror.
yeah.
It did. This is
And especially at the time when slashers were just kind of becoming,
when-
you know, th- there was like sort of like an acceptance to them just being kind of like soulless. And I feel like Wes Craven kind of created I hate to actually call Elm Street slasher.
yeah, I don't consider it slasher. It falls in there because of the decade it's in. I think that's why it's lumped in.
Yeah, because there's so much more to it, and I don't know, it's just very creative and unique, and great story, and a great protagonist with Nancy Thompson. I mean, what a great protagonist in horror! Definitely one of the best in the genre. And of course,
I think she's the best final girl in all of horror. Maybe Kirsty Cotton is a close second. Maybe 1st. I don't know. Between those two, those are the two best in my opinion.
right? Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the best horror movies ever made, and
Well, Nancy's smart.
she is.
She's fucking smart. I mean,
Smart, and she's tough in a unique kind of way.
Well, we talk about
her attitude and her presence.
Yeah, well, when we talked about certain people adapting to the situation, she does exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when she goes to the dream clinic, she pulls his hat out and she realizes right then, I can bring him in the real world, and she figures that shit out and sets up the booby traps around the house, and like she's so smart. And she not just smart, she went back into the dream to get him. That's fucking takes a lot of balls because she knows that her best friend died, her boyfriend died, or I guess they were boyfriend and girlfriend, Glenn, and then Rod Lane died, you know, all in the dream. And she risks herself, you know, her whole life to try to stop him. I mean, like Lori, I know because a lot of people will, no, Lori's the best, scream. She's the first, and she was fine, but she, she was constantly just reacting more than preparing. You know what I'm saying? Like she reacted to what Michael was doing, what the shape was doing to her. Where Lori, Nancy, she got the play. She's like Batman. Give her prep time. She'll take a motherfucker down.
Yeah,
You know what
well,
I'm saying? Like,
she's constantly learning throughout the
yeah,
entire movie, and she's like a fighter. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
absolutely.
she's gonna try to figure out a way to beat this whole thing. She's
Hmm.
got a lot of obstacles working against her. The biggest obstacle of all is the need of the human body to sleep.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know, and it's just got a great backstory and mythology to it, and
yeah.
a really great unique villain with a unique appearance, and
Hmm. And the glove is very unique. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and not to mention, this gives us Robert England.
yeah, yeah,
And I love that man. He's such like he's a big part of my life. I know that sounds silly because it's from movies, but like I don't know what my life would be without Robert England and Freddy. You
yeah,
know, and this is my favorite horror movie of all time. Period. Nothing better for me than this. And it's a lot of it has to do with seeing it as a youth, and it terrified me, and but a lot of it also has to do with knowing that Nancy is a hero first and foremost. She's not a final girl, she's a fucking hero. you
right,
know
exactly, yeah,
yeah, she's a hero, and she was my hero. And I even told Heather Langenkamp that when I met her. Like, I don't think she wanted me to, but I gave her a big fucking hug when I met her for the first time. I nearly cried because I was like, she was like my first hero. Well, Luke Skywalker was, but she was like right there, and she's such a fucking great. And I don't think she gets enough credit. I also don't think Kirsty gets enough credit, but we'll talk about that some other time. But I don't think Nancy gets enough credit. People look at Jamie Lee Curtis as the number one scream queen, if you will, or final girl, and I think it's Nancy because she adapts to the situation. She fucking comes up with a plan, and I know Lori didn't have time to come up with a plan, and she's mostly reacting. But I don't know. I love Nancy. I love Heather Langenkamp. I love this movie so much. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. And if it wasn't for this, again, I would not be where I am. This room wouldn't exist. It's I fucking love Freddy. I love Robert Englund. I love Heather. I love Wes Craven. John Saxon. Nobody talks about him enough in this movie. He's really fucking good.
hmm
Even Ronnie.
Blakey,
Huh?
Blakely,
Blakely. Thank you. Couldn't think of her name. Even she was really great as Marge. I mean, there's
hmm
there's scenes with her in the movie that are so kind of powerful between her and Nancy, and then the scene in the basement. It just I really remember we that scene where Nancy had a brother or a sister
hmm
resurfaced. Like I that scene's so great. I wish they would have left that in there, that Freddy Krueger killed Nancy's sister or whatever it was. But yeah, it's just a powerful movie that's deeper than anybody gets. Plus, I think it's changed. Like in my opinion, I look at horror as up to Nightmare on Elm Street and everything after, and then before Nightmare on Elm Street, because I do think Elm Street changed everything in horror completely. Like I know Halloween did too, because we got the slasher boom and all that, but there's something about Elm Street that was so unique, so different, so terrifying. It had the same effect Jaws had. You didn't want to sleep. Halloween's one night. I'm just saying. The boogeyman and all that stuff. And I love Halloween. Don't get me wrong, but this Elm Street changed everything. Motherfucker, I could not sleep for days after seeing the first two movies when I was 6 years old. And so I did sleep, but I was terrified to sleep. But anyway, that's my number one. That's your number two, and I respect that that's your number two because your number one is the legendary.
John Carpenter's Halloween. Yeah, I mean, John Carpenter is the greatest director of all time, so it shouldn't surprise anyone. Um, it's got I mean, it's got a great mythology behind it. It's got a great visual look. It's it's got great characters. Like I love Loomis. I love Michael Myers. I love Laurie Strode. Even though I will argue that I don't think she's a very interesting character, she's interesting enough and she's likable enough. And I
She's
think,
extremely likable.
yeah,
She's like the girl
exactly,
next door, you know.
exactly. But I, I would, I don't know. I mean, I think Jamie Lee's a little bit better of an actress than Heather, but
She is, that's for sure.
at the same time, I think Nancy's a better character.
Yeah,
So I don't know how to make that sound. I don't know how to say that without
they're
sounding
almost apples and
blasphemous.
oranges, you know.
Yeah,
But there's no wrong answer with
right.
either one of them, you know.
Yeah, but John Carpenter's Halloween is, I think, it's just a incredibly effective horror movie. It's, I don't know. There's something about it. There's something about like his style of directing and the kind of the patience of it and the slow pacing and um, the long shots. Instead of quick cuts, the way it lingers.
Yeah, there's a couple shots in particular, like when. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but while you're talking about, it, I want to mention the scene where Annie's telling Lori about Ben Tramer calling him, and they start in the doorway and come into the kid. You didn't see that before that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and especially the way Carpenter uses the foreground and the background.
Yeah,
The scene where Annie's on the phone talking to Paul, and she's kind of like pacing around in the kitchen. Of course, they had the phones with the cords back then, and you see Michael in the background at the door. In one way as she's walking, and then when she walks back, he's gone, and you know, throughout the entire movie, he's not in the movie a lot. Like he appears here and there, but his presence is there. Like even when he's not there, you kind of wonder where he's at. You know.
well, you get that kind of like, especially after Night Falls with the movie, you kind of wonder where he is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like even after seeing the movie 1,000 times, like I have, you know. I'm pulling
Yeah.
Nate's list up, by the way,
Oh,
because I can't remember where he had Halloween and where he had Elm Street. I feel like he had Elm Street higher.
I'm sure he's Elm Street's number one for him, right?
I think, but no, I mean, in my opinion, between Elm Street and Halloween, there's no wrong answer here. I mean, I have been saying this since the Horror Syndicate's been around. Halloween is legit the face of horror. I think if you ask anybody, name a horror movie, that's one of the first ones that comes up, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And same thing, if you name a horror character, Michael Myers will come up. And I know Freddy and Jason are big too, and Jason's gotten a lot bigger, I think, in the last few years, even bigger than he was in the '80s, which is funny because they can't cash in on it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
no, Halloween's an excellent film.
yeah.
And one of the best parts about Halloween watching it, and I'm sure you have, but anybody who's watching, if you've never watched, there's a John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis doing a commentary, and it's solid gold. It really is. So check that out. This is funny, by the way. Not to go off. These two fucking guys are so cute, Luke and Alex and their bromance. And then it all started from the Horror Syndicate. He says it's my fault. Hey, you're welcome. So anyway, yeah, I love Halloween. I do. Did I tell you? I don't think I told you. My son on Halloween revealed that that's his favorite horror film.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like,
He's got good
out
taste.
out of my house as I wear a Mike Myers shirt.
You should show him Assault Precinct 13 next.
You know what's kind of funny about this? I mean, you're wearing a Elm Street 4 hoodie, but you're wearing an Elm Street, and my number one's an Elm Street, and your number one's Yeah, and I'm wearing a fucking Michael Myers shirt. Well, we got to get our shit together, man.
It's opposite day.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I love every single one of you guys that are always constantly here. Luke and Alex and Virginia's been around forever. I don't know if she's still out there watching. She's been around forever. She actually, the camera I'm using, her and her husband bought it for me and sent it to me out of the kindness of their fucking heart. There's such, and Virginia has one of the best pictures in a hoodie of the Horror Syndicate hoodie ever, and she said she needs a new one. She needs to get a new one.
Yeah.
But if I could, I would use that picture to use it as a model for like trying to get a Horror Syndicate hoodie. She looks great in it, which you do, and it's red, which I love. The red stuff. I got a red Horror Syndicate shirt that needs to be replaced. I personally prefer Friday the 13th over Elm Street. Friday the 13th might not have one legendary movie like Halloween or a big actress. Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that ever. I mean, Friday the 13th. It's funny though. I mentioned this a few times throughout the show. I think Friday the 13th is a better series overall than Halloween because I think Halloween has more weak sequels. And you can see that in our lists, with Halloween Resurrection, Halloween 5, where Friday the 13th, they have this formula that goes from 1 to 8. And they're all following that formula for mostly 1 through 7. But so it's almost like toss up which one is the best. We know.
I mean, Halloween's like the more mainstream series.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's more, I don't know, it's more steak, whereas Friday the 13th is like a greasy cheeseburger.
That we love greasy cheeseburgers, man.
Yeah,
that's my favorite food.
Getting hungry now. No,
yeah, I am. I didn't eat dinner tonight. I'm sitting here thinking about getting some fucking White Castle.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like Friday 13th is cool because of the gore and the slasher elements to it. So I see why people prefer that over Elm Street or even Halloween.
Well, you said it earlier in one of them. They're party movies. I mean, Friday the 13th are movies that anytime I have an outdoor horror movie night where I invite people over, we show one of the Friday the 13th. So I think that's why. Did that all come through?
What's that?
Did everything I just say come through?
It seemed like you kind of skipped around there.
Okay. I'm trying to pull up another tab. My computer's acting like an asshole today. Virginia sent me the picture I wanted to show everybody, but I'll just show it on my phone if I can. This is what I was talking about. The Horror Syndicate hoodie. And, Luke and Alex, they have Horror Syndicate gear too, which I love. I know you do too. It's always awesome seeing people wearing my stuff, our stuff. No, they're fun. And again, there's no wrong answer ever with any of this stuff. They're all, there's a lot to enjoy in all 33 of these movies we just went through, in my opinion. Let's go through Nate's real fast, if you don't mind. I'm just gonna power through these really fast. So 33 through 1, Halloween Resurrection, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason, The Curse of Michael Myers, Freddy's Dead, 2010 Elm Street, H2O, A New Beginning, Friday the 13th Part 3, the remake of 2009, Revenge of Michael Myers. What are you thinking, Nate? That's... Number 20 is Friday the 13th Part 7. I think he needs to revisit the Friday the 13th series. I can't even imagine the last time you watched them. Number 19 is Friday the 13th, 1980. Number 18 is Dream Child. 17 is Halloween Kills. 16 is The Final Chapter. He's got it lower than I do.
It's appalling. You guys are...
Number 15 is Halloween. Number 15 is Friday the 13th Part 2. He's got those butt up next to each other like I do. Then 14 is Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. 13 is Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Number 12 is Halloween Ends, which I have a feeling that might have changed already because he just wrote this long article about how much he loves Halloween, and he's got some great points. If you haven't checked it, check out. It's the very first article on thehorrorsyndicate.com. Then Halloween 18 is number 11, and his top 10 are Jason Lives, Halloween 3, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Halloween 2 from 81, Freddy's Revenge. Number 5 is Halloween 4. Number 4 is Elm Street 4. Then it's Dream Warriors. Number 2 is Halloween, and number 1 is A Nightmare on Elm Street. So yeah, that's Nate's list since he couldn't be here with us tonight. Nate, you're always missed, my friend. I love that you're a part of the show and a part of the team. I would say the same thing about you, Seth, but we just don't see eye to eye on Jason Lives in, in the final chapter. No, it's this was good. I'm glad. I mean, 3.5 hours later, I can't believe you guys stayed with us. I really appreciate that. This was just something me and Seth just decided to do, kind of on what was it, like Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah.
Nate will be back. Nate's probably going to miss December, but he'll be back for the last few episodes of November. We're covering The Invisible Man on Wednesday, so we gotta get cracking on watching some movies. And after that, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I'm gonna ask Nate if we should do our top 20 or 25 or whatever of 2022 before he goes on his little hiatus, or if we should do it going into next year, because I definitely absolutely want him to be a part of that show.
I think we should wait until the first episode of next year.
I'm fine with that, because there are other movies coming out at the end of the year that are horror. So, and plus, Shudder just keeps shitting out movies all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good call. My favorite currently is Barbarian, then Hellraiser. My air conditioner just kicked on. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate all your guys' time. I love talking horror. I love talking with my friends, and I love talking with Seth. You notice how I separated him and friend. No, we have fun, don't we? We have a good time when we get together and talk. We've got some fun, just me and you episodes.
I mean, as long as the payment clears, I don't care what you fucking call me.
The only payment you're going to get is my review of Assault on Precinct 13. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate you. I hope you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want, or I hope you at least follow the page. By the way, Seth, how incredible is it that the Horror Syndicate has gotten over almost 3,000 new followers in the last month? That's awesome. October.
Yeah, it was incredible seeing the numbers keep going up.
Yeah. So if you're out there watching and you haven't shared the Horror Syndicate, we're closing on 22,000 likes, and we are real people, not some mindless, bloody disgusting. Well, I mean, we do this out of the passion for the genre. None of us get paid. Not even me. Actually, I make negative money because I have to pay for the fucking website, and I got to pay for StreamYard, which is $25 a month. And so I'm making no money on this at all. But we got great articles on the horrorsyndicate.com. This motherfucker right here has done so many unused script breakdowns for Halloween, mostly Halloween, and you did an Elm Street, at least one Elm Street, I think.
But I did 2 Elm Streets.
Was it 2 Elm Streets? I know you did 3. What was the other one?
For part 6.
Oh, that's right. That was the most recent. The Dream Police, wasn't it?
Yep.
And then, so we've got tons of great shit. Nate did a whole article about why he loves Halloween Ends. Seth did an article on Halloween Ends, and so did I. So there's 3 different perspectives for Halloween Ends on the website. I love it. Our buddy Chuck Ransford just got his 100th article, which is the Terrifier 2 review. And I got to tell you, I hated Terrifier, but I really like Terrifier 2. So, yeah.
I've heard of those movies. I have to see them.
You should. I'm curious to see what you'd say. Thank you very much. What's your group? Shout it out, man. We do have a Horror Syndicate group. So it's the Horror Syndicate group. I think it's Facebook.com/Horror Movie Massacre, which was going to be the name of the Horror Syndicate originally. which I actually preferred, but I got outvoted by everybody else that was on the team. So, what do you think of that horror movie massacre? Kind of cool, right? Too long?
Sounds like someone who thinks that Jason Lives is better than Final Chapter would say.
I also think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is better than Halloween.
Well, listen, if you want,
So,
do you want to take
the horror lounge? All are welcome. Yeah, check out the horror lounge on Facebook. The group. Join if you want to. It sounds good. I just spread the love for horror, man. Horror is this is one of the best communities I've been a part of. I write comics. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and the Star Wars is the most fucking toxic fan base of all time. And comics is okay. It's just most people are like, I'm a creator, but most people are more like trying to promote their own shit. Horror, I mean, there are people who hate stuff and people who love stuff, but for the most part, we all fucking love horror. And I've gone to so many horror conventions, and it's just a big fucking love fest. It's so much fun. So anyway, we're gonna peace out of here. I'm hungry. I think I'm gonna make some nachos. It's 1:30 for Seth. It's 12:30 for me. And my kids are still awake. So it's Friday at least. So, but we'll be back on Wednesday. Seth, are you ready for some Invisible Man conversation?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about this motherfucker right here.
It's one of my favorites. Love that movie.
It's the end of our trek through the Universal horror film series, and before Nate goes away, we're gonna do a top 20 Universal horror countdown with Jared and Seth and myself and Nate. And then there's a couple other episodes we'll do. And then when Nate's out for December, which it sounds like he'll be out for December, we're going to go ape shit with stupid movies. So, because
can we do Cabin Fever?
We can do Cabin Fever.
We should do
I know Jared wanted to do a Fulci film. So Zombie probably. We'll do something like that. The movies that we know Nate does not want us to watch to talk about. But anyway, thanks again for anybody who watched, who subscribes, who follows. We just love horror, man. Obviously, I have a whole room dedicated to it. Seth's got the fucking basement dedicated to it. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Make sure you watch plenty of fucking horror because there's tons. So. And remember, we're talking Universal's Invisible Man. So check those out if you can. Seth, thanks again, man. It was always fun talking with you. I'm glad that you're part of my life and a part of the Horror Syndicate.
Ditto.
Awesome. Thanks. Swayze and Ghost. Any last words before we go?
Evil Dies Tonight. Shit, Earl, that was Ted Hollister. You dumb son of a bitch. You said you saw Myers.
Yep.
If that's the way you feel about it, forget it. Just forget it. But I think you're way out of line. It's okay. He wants his machete back. How sweet, fresh meat. I don't know.
You got a lot of them in there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I'll have to work on that.
Yeah. You need to come up with so your tagline for the end of every almost every episode of this season was Evil Dies Tonight. So you need a good one for next season 3. Something very catchy, something like I don't know. You'll figure it out. You'll come up with something. Shit, I saw the shit Earl. That's Ted Hollister. I love that. When I saw that the other day when we were talking whatever it was, I fucking almost died laughing because I didn't expect to see that as poor Ted Hollister. Yeah, poor guy. Also, real quick, anybody who's left out there or watched this and stayed to the end, do you think, based on Halloween 2018, Halloween, do you think Paul, Annie's boyfriend or whatever, or fuck buddy, do you think he has survivor's guilt? Because he didn't get to go and Annie ends up getting killed on his way. She's going to be on her way to pick him up. Do you think he has a little bit of survivor's guilt after finding out Annie died? I'm curious. I've always wondered that, Anyway, have a great night. Enjoy love from St. Louis, love from fucking wherever you're living now, Seth. Fucking Vermont. Yeah, I always forget. It's Vermont. Peace, love, and, blood. Bye.
stuff.